Okay. You're all set. Have a good meeting.
Great, thank you. Good evening, everyone. Tonight is Tuesday, April 23rd. Welcome to the Scituate Select Board meeting. I'd like to make a motion to call meeting to order and to accept the agenda. So second, Karen Connolly, second, Karen Canfield, all in favor? Aye. Before we proceed and before I read our statement for DEI, I just want to take a moment and extend our sincere condolences to the Glancy family. For those of you who may not be aware, we lost a very former valued employee, Mark Glancy, on Saturday. She is a terrific, loyal employee, worked in our recreation department for many years. She was co-director from 2013 to 2016, and then was promoted to director of recreation in 2016 and served there just recently until 2023. So I know all of our hearts are broken. It was very sudden, and we just want the Glancy family and their relatives and their friends to know that we're deeply saddened and we do extend condolences to you all. So I just don't want to look that as a really sad day. So rest in peace, Laura. She was a great lady. She missed. So with that, I will just move along and restate our diversity statement, which is that the Scituate Select Board is committed to providing an environment of respect during meetings. We ask all members to interact in a polite manner, even when there is disagreement. We value the participation of our community and want all participants, including marginalized and minoritized communities, to feel welcomed and respected. We ask our committee members and all who participate to commit to these standards to support and respect our community. So with that, are there any walk-ins here this evening? I do not see any. So we'll move over to the report of the town administrator from Jim.
Good evening. A lot to go through, but I'll go as quickly as I can. First and foremost, special town meeting is Monday night, April 29th. That's next Monday, 7 o'clock. The only item on the agenda is the Cushing Avenue School project. There's information available on the town website and on the school websites. Please go online, get yourself informed via town meeting, 7 o'clock. As a follow-up to that, the annual town election is Saturday, May 18th, from 8 a.m. to 6 p.m. It's at 8 to 8 yesterday, Kathy got it. It's 8 to 6. Thursday this week, the Scituate Cohasset Fire Department, Scituate Cohasset Harbor Master's offices, and the Scituate Police, in conjunction with Mass DEP, will be conducting an oil spill exercise at Scituate Harbor, the city of the Jericho Boat Ranch, from approximately 12 p.m. until 2 p.m. Containment booms will be deployed in the water, and vessels from all those departments will be operating in the area. Mariners are advised to use caution when transiting this area. You can contact the Harbor Master or the Coast Guard by VHF radio. Mass DEP Commissioner Bonnie Heppel will also be attending the training, so I hope the voice is here. Cedar Point, we're still doing the testing on the concrete seawall out there, so you will see the engineers out there. They're between the intersection of Jericho Road and Turner Lighthouse. This is the Cedar Point project that we got money from Senator Markey's office for. That will be ongoing for the next several weeks. As part of the Department of Revenue mandate to perform an on-site inspection of property every 10 years, the assessor's office will be using the services of PK and Associates to inspect all homes that have not been inspected since 2020 in the Hummerock Cliff areas in the town of Scituate. The inspections will consist of an exterior measurement of the homes and structures and a request to inspect the interior of the home. The inspections will be conducted by representatives from the PK Evaluation Group. The motor vehicle registration details of the inspectors on file with the Scituate Police Department. They will be wearing badges. Inspections will begin this Thursday, 25th. Questions call the assessors 545-8712. The Water Department wants to remind residents that May 1st, our annual water restrictions go into place. All outdoor watering must occur before 9 a.m. and after 5 p.m. Between May 1st and September 30th, automatic irrigation systems may be used 1 day per week, as designated by the Scituate Water Department. You go to the town website, find out when your precinct can water with the irrigation. We like to tell people these restrictions are state restrictions on the water basin. They're not particular Scituate. They have nothing to do with how much rain we've had or how much water is in the reservoir. There's strictly a basin-wide ban that is put in by the state to help conserve water. Violations of any of these regulations can result in fines. The contractor for the lighthouse was scheduled to be back on site yesterday, to complete the remaining work of the lighthouse. However, the rainy weather of the past several weeks has delayed the mason, so now work will begin Monday, the 29th. Work to remain grouting, metal handrails outside the lighting rooms, glasswork, painting of the major items remaining. All exterior work with the removal of the scaffolding is scheduled to be completed before Memorial Day. So we hope to have the entire lighthouse back looking the way it's supposed to by Memorial Day. There may be some punch list items inside still going on. The scaffolding will be down, the lighthouse will be painted like it's supposed to by Memorial Day. So knock on wood. The Historic Society has tentatively set August 7th, National Lighthouse Day, as the date to celebrate the renovation of Scituate Light, and details will follow. Saturday, May 4th is Ship Shape Day. Mark your calendars, supplies can be picked up here at the town hall from 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. Cleanup can be done on Saturday and or Sunday. The residents can leave their special Ship Shape Day bags by the side of the road and be picked up by the DPW. It's a big event. We want to make sure everybody knows about it. It's out there. It does a lot of good, helping the town look clean. So please participate in Ship Shape Day. If you have any questions, you can contact the beautification committee or contact our office. The treasurer would like to remind residents that quarterly tax payments are due for real estate and personal property taxes on Wednesday, May 1st. You can pay your taxes in person or online. The treasurer's page, when you get on the town website, there's online services. Click on that, it will take you to the pay bills online. You go through and pay your taxes. If you have any questions, you can contact the treasurer collector's office. Board of Health is hosting their mosquito and tick presentation Monday, April 29th from 3:30 to 5 in the Scituate Library in the community room. Presentation is in collaboration with the Plymouth County Mosquito Control Project. They'll provide helpful tips for keeping your family safe from exposure to mosquitoes and ticks. It's timed perfectly. You go to that, go home and have dinner, and then be at town meeting by 7 o'clock. The Health Department's also hosting the Dana Farber Mammography Van on Thursday, May 2nd, from 7 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. Women aged 40 and older interested in scheduling an appointment can reach out to the Mammography Van office, 617-632-1974. It's going to take place at St. Luke's Episcopal Church across the street. If you have any questions, you can contact the Health Department, also 545-8725. Staying with that theme, the Scituate Police Department will be hosting a blood drive with the Crash Family Blood Donor Center to remember and honor all those fighting cancer. That drive will take place this Sunday, April 28th from 8 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. at the Public Safety Complex. Appointments are recommended, but walk-ins will be taken as time allows. You do need a photo ID. A special thank you, donors will receive a Crash Family Blood Center $10 Target gift card. For information, call 617-632-3206. Burning season ends May 1st, so if you still have brush to burn, you have about a week to get that done. The food pantry is thankful for everybody's assistance. They continue to see an increase in need. Currently, their most needed items: cream mushroom soup, low sugar cereals, boxed oatmeal, cranberry juice, canned white tuna, baked beans, juice boxes, Jello pudding cups, canned mixed fruit, and quick bread. Dropped off at the food pantry during normal hours on the business behind the old gates, Scituate Library, Village Market, on Shores. Finally, the North Scituate Beach project could be wrapping up this week. I noticed it cleaning up today. That project's going very well. Once it's all done, Corey and Sean will put together a report. We'll post it on the website and get it over to the board. I think that project's gone very well at this point, and it will provide some nice beach for the people in the summertime and some protection below the walls of the matter. So that's what I have for today.
Thank you. Any questions for Jim?
Yeah, just one observation. If you're in a neighborhood group or an affinity group like the Boy Scouts, whatever, you can go to shipshapeday.org, which is the Ship Shape Day website, and they will try to work with you if you can't do your cleanup on the designated days. They'll do what they can to accommodate you. But you know, I know that some people have some particular areas of concern. So if you do, take a look at shipshapeday.org.
Just one question, I asked you, and I'm sorry, I don't remember the answer. It is shocking. We changed, we had a change to our beach policy, sticker policy. Will there be change of signage in the parking lots?
The beach commission was working on that. I haven't seen the new signs yet, but they were planning on getting some new signs. They were concerned about a little signage pollution. We did ask questions to see dog signs also, dogs on leashes, so I'll follow up with, Nick, who's liaison of the beach commission. Another beach commission, both working on some design issue with that, those changes.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay. All right, there's nothing further. We will move on to the first item, which is Doug Smith and a donation, for the memorialization of 40 Wigwam Lane, Adams Country Club. To the historical commission.
Yes.
How are you this evening?
I'm fine, good evening. Good to see everyone. So the Historical Commission reviewed a application for demolition on 40 Wigwam Lane, which was a house that was built in 1812. It actually sits practically in the middle of the Hatherley Golf Course on that side of the road. So the country club has purchased it from the original owner, and they're concerned that it's a liability for any future occupancy, based on some previous lawsuits that have happened down in Kingston and a few other areas. So their solution was to request demolition of the property. The commission found it to be something of historical significance, so in our agreement to approve the demolition, they have offered to grant a sum of money, in this case $3,000, to assist the commission in documenting the property for future research. So it'll be hopefully engaging a historical architect or somebody of the lighting to really review the property, take pictures of it, and that will give us the documentation for future use.
But, oh, so they're not going to demo it?
No, they are going to demo.
They are, okay.
Yes. So, but before it's demoed,
They'll
we'd like
take
to
the
be able
photos,
to take all of this
pictures.
detail, gather as much
Okay,
information as
gotcha.
we can on it. And then it would be placed, with the Historical Society, the town archives,
So
things
it's
like
not-
that. Yeah, that's what's the purpose.
Question?
I'm recusing.
Okay, so ask you that. Questions?
No, I mean, it's smack dab in the middle of the golf course. Any other just discussion of the historical nature besides its age or anything else?
Yeah, there's quite a bit. So it was built in 1812. And it's a very good example of a federal style home, which there are not a lot of those in Scituate. But beyond that, John Turner Bryant was considered one of Scituate's property adjacent to where Timothy Hatherley was in Farms Neck. So he was an important figure in the town. John Bryant Turner lived 1786 to 1849. He was a selectman for 10 terms in Scituate, which was interesting. He was on the school committee. He helped establish some of the first school districts in town. He was a justice of the peace. He was in the state legislature and the Senate. He helped to locate some initial railroads. He's quite a character. And he was continually sought after for his sound judgment. And so the town referred to him as Squire Bry. That was his nickname. And he appeared to have been a close friend of John Quincy Adams. And so he really was not only the house, but the person who occupied it, so there's a lot of historical interest there. But again, the discussion with the club, we just did not have a lot of options. They felt from a liability viewpoint, and that's why they purchased it. But, yeah. So,
That's too bad.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. It's too bad that it's in that bad of an area.
Yeah, it looks like it's in really good shape too, as far as.
so we can't prevent demolition. All we can do is delay it.
All you can do is
So
delay.
we raised the issue with them, we raised our concerns, but at that point.
So we have.
Yeah, so this is- I personally don't, I mean, unless,
Yeah.
but this was a mitigation option, was the idea of being able to preserve it.
And they can't use it for something.
That's not the current plan.
Not shape to move,
Well,
no condition to move it.
It would be,
I mean, I know you've already.
it could be, it'd be a little bit difficult to move because it's a, given, it would be difficult to move. It did go through pretty significant renovations in the 1980s. So it's had like a garage added to it, it's had an extension added off the back. So the original historic piece of the house is kind of in the middle square area there, so.
It's just unfortunate we have no options. Because of
Yeah.
the nature of the, like, history in town, the houses are kind of separated.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
and
what I would,
it's a shame because there's some really nice historic.
I agree, and you know, we have had people, really part two of my discussion will be the preservation plan. I mean, that's part of the reason of doing that plan is to be able to develop some new strategies and approaches to be able to, you know, do preservation. There are just some times that things can't be saved.
That's too bad.
Just one question, how many times have we had to demolish a house that we would prefer not to? I mean, I know we adopted this bylaw probably about 10 years ago.
Yeah, it was quite a while ago. Say,
It's not,
It's
not
hard to-
common
yeah.
practice, right?
it's more common than you think. It's probably 6 or 8 houses a year.
A year.
Yeah.
That we demolished?
Something like that, yeah.
That gets
Yeah,
demolished.
they get demolished. Now, some of them are really deteriorating, so there's not a lot there. But there's other ones that we've implemented the delay in some of them, try to work with the homeowners. Some people have chosen not to demolish the house after they give permission. So it's a little bit of both, but it's a, you know, it's one of the reasons that the bylaw was put into place, it's really trying to create awareness, but it does not prevent demolition. If you wanted to go to that step, those would be different regulations beyond the demolition review bylaw. That would be things like local historic districts. You know, really kind of tightening up those regulations, which is something we don't have in this town this time.
In your opinion, have we lost a good inventory of some significant
We've
homes?
lost some that there's some, there's other ones that are just, you know, it's usually years of neglect.
Right.
You know, we looked at one last Saturday, that was actually a tax taking by the town, it hadn't been occupied in 10 years. We triggered the bylaw, but there was no really to save that, so. It's a little bit of both. It is, but this is one way, you know, as a form of litigation is to be able to do a really good job documenting that.
Oh,
The
yeah.
commission does not have a
Completely
budget,
appreciate,
yeah,
completely
so
appreciate
it was,
that.
it was sort of a goodwill gesture on that part.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that.
And then regarding that, is $3,000 gonna do it? Would that,
We think
or
so.
are we also gonna, is the town also gonna have to pay additional money?
No, the town, so the historical commission was one of the few boards in town that operates on zero budget.
Yeah.
There is a historic piece there, that's a lot of it's for the historical society's building, so we think that's a really good start, but if we need more funds, I think there's a few people who would be willing to contribute to that. But we have to get this started first, and we're in the process of getting some estimates as to what that would take to do.
Any other questions for Doug? It is, anybody want to make a motion?
Move that the select board accept a donation of $3,000 from the Hadley Country Club for use by the Scituate Historical Commission to be engaging a photographer and potential historical architect for the memorialization of the structure of 40 Coupon Lane.
Moved by Angie Goodrich. Second by Karen Connolly. All in favor? One recusal. Okay. Doug, thank you.
You're welcome.
And then did you want to further give us more of an
Sure.
update on the?
Yeah,
preservation
so,
study?
as you know, that the CPC funded this preservation study for the historical commission to engage in this process with the town. It's really a 4 stages. The first stage is complete, which was the, background gathering of all of our data as far as, you know, which properties are listed on the National Register of Historic Places, which properties have been inventoried. We've collected all of the old maps that have been around town, working with our consultant, preservation strategies. He's taken over 1,000 photographs, he's done site visits to the community. He's looked at things like bylaws, everything that we kind of gathered. So the research phase is complete. So now we're moving on to phase 2, which is the outreach, which will take another 12 weeks. So during the outreach phase, heritage strategies will be engaging different boards, commissions, folks locally, regionally, with the Massachusetts Historical Commission to really go on a listening session, to talk to everybody in town to see what they think is important for historic preservation. Building upon the planning board's, master plan, this will be sort of going down another avenue beyond the master plan to really take a real deep dive into historic preservation. So that outreach will occur over the next 12 weeks. And then the third phase would be a series of recommendations that we'll put together, share those widely. And the fourth phase will be a final plan. So we should end up probably the end of October, November, somewhere around there. But to be able to share this with everyone, we hope it becomes a working document that will really help guide the town and everything from bylaws, regulations, community education, outreach, everything that we can do as we think about historic preservation moving forward. So we're excited to have this done. It's been a long time coming. It's never been done before in Scituate. We've seen other communities use this as a really great preservation tool. So it's something that we can share.
Will you be reaching out to different neighborhoods and actual residents that live in those historic neighborhoods?
We can do that. We have a whole list of, we have statewide partners, but locally, what we're trying to do is really a lot of the town departments from administrative town clerk, planning, recreation, building inspector, public works, archives, all of the boards, and then different partnering organizations like the Historical Society, First Huntingburg Watershed, North and South River Watershed Association. But what I hope to do is, as we get a little bit further along in the plans, is to do some focus groups and some discussions. And I think out of it, there will be things that come, about some properties maybe that are individually owned that could be listed on the National Register of Historic Places, what that conversation would look like, what a National Register of Historic District would look like, if there was more. If people really wanted more done, like more restrictive things like local historic districts, it'd be a good time to hear about those things. But I think it's better to kind of gather all the options, put them on the table, let people understand that. And then from there, this plan will become a working document as to what has to happen.
Yeah, will this include, open spaces that are, we should know more about what we want to preserve, like, Mordecai Lincoln's a very good example of
Yeah.
design, not just houses, but a landscape.
Sure.
And we have parks in town, but we all know there have been some heated
Yeah.
discussions about the parks and what the backgrounds are and what their
Yeah.
histories are. So I would like to see the green spaces that we have in town, and any of the vistas that we'd like to preserve, and to include that in
Sure.
a plan, so.
Yep, we can definitely do that. I think that's kind of why the North and South River watersheds are part of it. Look at the North River, it's historic significance, all the shit that happened there.
Right,
So that's an area that has a vista to it as
Right.
well.
right, exactly. And those need to be preserved to the
Yeah.
extent they can be.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Good point.
Yes.
Yeah, I can't remember the contract that the consultant, if our focus groups included in that
Yeah,
original
yeah,
scope.
yeah. So we'll probably do those again over the next 12 weeks. Maybe do some surveying too. We thought about that as an option. I know more Kevin folks got a lot of responses, yeah, so.
Very
Interesting.
exciting, as did the
Yeah.
44 park.
Yeah,
I mean, a lot of people criticize Survey Monkey, but at least you can get a feel
yeah,
for what people have to say,
Yeah.
because you get a lot of comments too,
Yeah.
so.
absolutely.
That's why I think that would be good for additional outreach, because there are a lot of stories out there that folks have that.
Yeah.
The group that you're already in touch with, you not already have, just because they don't even know that this is happening.
Yes.
Anything?
No, so just you can get a taste.
Yeah.
What you're saying, so.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, we're always talking to folks who are interested in historic preservation, so we get our side of the story, but it'd be great to make it a broader conversation. in the
Yeah.
Community.
So, minute, what's that? Well, thank you for spearheading that and moving it along.
Yeah, it'll be interesting when it's all done.
Look forward to
Look forward to
seeing,
sharing with you and, our congratulations on all of your service to the town of Scituate. I
Thank
know
you.
you're wrapping it up, but, done a lot of great things. We appreciate that.
Thank you.
All right.
Appreciate all that you've done as well.
Okay,
We know where
thank
she
you.
lives.
Yeah.
In a historic home.
Yeah, there you go. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right. So next on our agenda is to interview Chris Marachi.
How are you?
Chris, would like to come on up. How are you?
Good to see you.
So you're a glutton for punishment, I see. Wanting to join the bylaw review commission.
Rejoin.
Rejoin it.
I was on late nineties, early 2000s.
Okay,
And
we
I-
predate it.
That predates, yes. It seems like an eternity ago. I ran into, first of all, Chris Baraki, 67 Grove Drive. Doing bad, I had.
I should.
Yeah. I ran into Lincoln and Lincoln Hyman, who's the chairman. After town meeting, and he goes to me, Chris, you were on the bylaw review committee in eternity ago. Yes, we have a big couple of vacancies, would you be interested in one? Here I am.
Great.
So, my,
Why don't you tell us a little bit about, your skill set, what you think you will bring?
well,
So I'm not sure everybody knows you as well as,
yeah.
like, one side of the bench up here to the other side.
Yeah, I served 6 years. Admittedly, it's some time ago, so I'm sure I have some catching up to do, in terms of the commas, and the finer points of bylaws, but generally I have some experience to that. I've lived in Scituate my entire life, 51 and a half years, counting. Don't, my mother still goes in the train, it's a child over 50, so. Went to public school system throughout kindergarten through grade 12, graduated from the Florida State. Went with a science degree, worked in town, as many of you know.
Great.
So. Any questions?
I will see. Any questions for Chris?
Let's see, do you have any experience town meetings?
Yes.
You do, that's
Yes.
good. How about experience in just, town government in general for the last,
I was
30
currently
years.
library trustee.
everybody?
Everybody, pretty much I've been to most town meetings. The only one I recall missing was 4 years ago, because of COVID. They put that postponed a couple of times, and once it was finally scheduled, I had to work, and I just couldn't get out of it. So that's one of the very, very few town meetings that I actually missed. But I've been to like.
That was a fun one.
Well, it was outside.
Oh, yeah.
So go figure, the one nice weather and it was held outside, I had to miss. So,
By us.
oh. So,
Well, I was
He's
throwing,
giving you a hard time.
I was throwing you a we'll
okay,
see you with.
I will
All
try,
is different.
all those other things, so. Anything else?
Anybody, Susan, anything? Karen?
No. I will just say that I've served with our esteemed applicant for many years when we were in town library trustee
Yeah.
board together.
Yeah.
And his commitment and dedication to the town and knowledge of stuff that everybody else forgot is really important. And I think it'll be great to have you back.
Yeah.
We're gonna start at square one and work our way through it.
We'll do the best we can, so.
So, and if it's over there.
Well, thank you for accepting the challenge.
Yeah,
I appreciate it.
You know, you guys know where my phone number, you know where I live, you know where I work, so. Anytime.
All right, do you have a motion for Chris? I don't think we need to wait till the end. of the
Move to appoint Christopher Crockley to the bylaw review commission for a term of 3 years or what's his name?
Moved by Karen Canfield, second by Andrew Goodrich, all in favor?
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Laura, thank you
And
for your
Thank you for
time.
stepping up. Oh, you're
It's,
welcome.
you know, I know you put your time in, it's been a long time in coming, I know, so.
I'll still wave to you at the Rotary.
Okay. Thank you all, see you around.
Thanks.
Take care, bye-bye.
Take care.
I'll like,
What did you say?
Lincoln.
Oh, okay. So next we have an update on the Mordecai Lincoln property and the community update. So James, how are you?
Jim's fine, I'm doing well. How are you all?
Just your name and address for the record, and then we'll have you take us through.
Deshaun, 20 Mordecai Lincoln Road. Super.
Welcome.
Thanks for having
You're welcome.
our committee have some time with the board. This is our initial report, so we're off and running, but it's a first step in what we hope is a long, great journey. So we'll give you an update on what we've learned to date. Some of what we learned has created many more questions than answers. So we'll go through what we learned. We do have some specific recommendations for the short term, and then we need to do some more exploration and due diligence in some other areas. You'll see that in the presentation. So this is just a little bit of background. You all are quite familiar. You were involved in the decision to procure the property, but a little play on Abraham Lincoln there, 16 score and 12 years ago. This property was built. And it is truly unique. I think earlier today in the meeting, you mentioned the blend of open space and historic structures. And this is just a jewel. Some would say a diamond in the rough. But it's a very special property. I live, as I said, just down the street. I walk it 4 or 5 times a week on the dog walk routine that I have. I was there again today. It changes in its beauty outside by the day, by the surf and the tide schedule, the seasons. So literally every day is a new vista. That's wonderful. So it is truly unique and very appreciative that you had the foresight to retain it. The committee was given this charge by you all. So these were the different, we literally took this charge and broke it into what we call work streams. So we had an owner of each of these elements, and then we brought them together periodically to test for interactions and interdependencies. We do have a little bit of an interesting situation with the open space and buildings because it's almost a Venn diagram of there's a view of the open space, there's a view of the buildings, but when you start thinking about parking and traffic and some of these issues, they need to coexist in harmony. And so that's something we're particularly keeping our eye on is every step of the way, how do these things interact? And we're beginning to get a little bit of a feel for that, but some of the ideas as to what you might do with some of the structures, we think kind of take you in a direction that is a little bit away from what the natural beauty of the site might be. So we're still working on that. Next slide, Seth. And by the way, Seth's been fantastic support. Thank you, Seth. I had to learn all kinds of things about technology, so he's been very patient. So I think I can say with confidence that at least the initial review of each of these areas we've successfully completed, hence the check marks for each one. Some have made a little bit more progress than others, but nonetheless, every single element has been digested and has shaped these recommendations. The survey was the last piece of the puzzle to come together, so thanks for your patience in allowing us extension. We wanted to get the survey, enough time to get a really good, robust response. We did.
Did you see an uptick after town meeting at all, or?
A little bit.
A
little bit. But we think it's a very healthy first cut. And as was mentioned earlier, SurveyMonkey has its strengths and weaknesses. And we were trying to see if there were some strong signals out of what could be a lot of noise in certain areas. And we think we did see some strong signals, and we'll talk about that in a second. Next slide, 7. Obviously, near and dear to the heart of this group is funding. Make no mistake, we're going to have to tap into some town funds. We'll be very judicious about those requests. But we want to build a platform that hopefully has some legs to it over time. And it will take some time to get this platform started, but it has these 3 pillars. The first pillar is going after grants, and that was one of our work streams on funding. And the research showed that there are a surprising number of grants that theoretically could apply to this type of property. But it's all about telling your story and making your case and having the right rigor behind the case that you're making. And there's, you guys probably know better than I that there's a little bit of art and creativity to telling that story and going for the grant. And so we think that will be an important piece of the puzzle. And to really help with the credentials of that story, one of the recommendations is to hire a historical architect that brings the right rigor to that analysis. It also helps us focus on things that are truly historic. One of the questions that came up earlier is, other than being old, what's so historic about it? Well, this is where you find out. We have some good leading indicators that some of the structures really do have some of those bellwether characteristics of a historic structure. Others may not so much. It will help us focus our time and eventually any investments we'd ask for based on this work. So this is a central piece of the recommendation, is this historic architect. Alliances. Jim Galinsky has been a great team member and has done a lot of outreach to other groups that may share a similar vision to what we have. And there's a backup memo at the end that I won't really go through, but it lists a number of the areas where we think we have strong synergy. You know, given where this is located in Gulf River and marsh and the outdoor activities that could be there, as well as historic commission here in Scituate, but also in the surrounding communities that also have a history with Lincoln. We think there are some really strong opportunities for some synergy and some alliances. And as usual, it's turning that enthusiasm into hard dollars that will be the challenge. And then finally, the last piece is to enable people who are so inclined. I'm ready to make a donation. I have very shallow pockets, but every little bit helps. But 501c3 might be able to, you know, kickstart some of this, and we may have some surprisingly well-endowed friends of Mordecai Lincoln out there. You never know. This third piece is something that we like your feedback on pursuing, because I know there's some complexity in the overhead of managing such a thing. But we think as a committee it'd be helpful to enable individuals to have tax deductible donation. So back to the survey. There are 4 questions that I've highlighted here out of, there were certainly more than those. I attached the entire survey results, thanks to Susan for compiling them. So I won't go through those because there's just too much material there to be good use of your time. But I've highlighted these areas. And the first is the strongest signal on the upper left, question 5. Far and away the strongest signal in the survey was support for the installation of public walking trails. So 91% of the respondents either strongly agreed or agreed with that particular question. And this is really basic stuff. This isn't, you know, elaborate. This is phase 1 kinds of things. And this, I think, was already envisioned in the CPC work that predated our committee, and Penny has been representing that work to us. So we're not at this point requesting anything more than what was already approved, but I think one of the key things we need to understand is what does it take to get a green light to unleash those funds that I think were already approved, but they may have been, from your perspective, held up to synchronize up with some of this committee's work and get feedback from the survey, et cetera. So my message is that we think we got a resounding support for that particular phase 1 of that effort. So that's simple walking trails. It's the beginning of a parking area that will allow people to have access. And CPC would be, you know, the operational route to work with that. And then we keep our eye on that overlap in the Venn diagram concept of how that is evolved. Question 3 was an interesting learning point for us in SurveyMonkey and surveys in general. This question had to do with would you support one or more of the buildings as a public historic site? Well, because we, in retrospect, used the language one or more, people didn't know what particular scenario they were responding to. So we did get what I would call a strongly agree of 84%, but a lot of questions and comments about what would it be, how much would it cost, you know, what are the risks, what are this, what are that. So this is one where we really feel like we want to pursue in our next round of work, but we need to get much more specific and refined as to the scenario so that we can build a real pro and con with some financials behind it. Question 17 was the second strongest signal. And basically what it does is support what you've already decided to do, but with the emphasis on don't go from here and sell it. So this was retain the property, we want to preserve it, and that was another strong signal. This question 13, watermill buildings for a site caretaker and or rental. Well, this is again, probably in retrospect, not the greatest wording of the question. This had clearly the most undecided. So we talked a fair amount as a committee about what would be our, after digesting all those comments and all that, where would we zero in next? And the very specific question that we are recommending to go after next is to put to bed one way or the other the notion of a caretaker. There is one of the houses, what we call a small house, that was lived in until fairly recently. It would need some updating for it to be, able to be leased by a caretaker. But we'd really like to learn from the other models in town about the ups and downs of that, what's working, what's not working, has that been a good win? Because we think a presence, if done right, could, we need to do the due diligence, but could give us some eyes and ears on the site. And again, as somebody who walks it and it's by there quite a bit, you can just tell that there's some activity on the property, shall we say. I call it drinkers and screamers. What does that mean? So you see the nips bottles, and we collect those, and others that may be walking. So you see adult beverage containers, shall we say, and then the screamers are the ice screamers. They're the people who walk down the dribbles and find it a convenient place to toss their empty dribbles. So we just think having a presence there would help in with beautification, but also for some of the mischief that might be going on as in the dark of night back into the property. It might be helpful. We know there are some downsides. We don't yet know the economics, so that will be a key focus area for the next 90 days. This is just a visual of those two strong signals, so we don't need to belabor it, but this is the walking trail question. You can see it more compelling maybe in a visual. The next one was the set of, the next slide, the selling of the property, also pretty strong signal. Okay, next slide. So here's the summary table of recommendations, and I think we'd like to get on a cadence where we're really working on roughly a 90-day cadence, but this is kind of for the next 6 months. So the first one is back to that recommendation about simple paths. This is building on the CPC funds already approved, the driveway parking area, simple trailways. That could include what I would call a soft launch. I don't know if it's the right terminology, so keep me honest here, but for those who might want to launch a kayak, this is not a dock. But there's already an existing path that with a little bit of effort could just allow people who are so inclined to launch a kayak or canoe, a little bit more organized and obvious location. So just to be clear, we're not looking at a dock for phase 1, but that would be, again, CPC funds. Longer term, there was a fair amount of interest in, is there a viewing space, and could that be a dock? Could it be a little bit more sophisticated? So we've got some other work to do longer term, but this in the next 6 months is that very first phase 1. The main house, and in fact, this first recommendation applies to the main house and any of the structures, is what I call inventory clean and empty. You have people living in there, they pretty much packed up a few things and left a lot of things. So amidst all that, there may be some treasures. And so we want to be diligent before we just go in and start tossing everything from vinyl records of the 60s and 70s to who knows what. But there's some interesting things there. So the team has got, volunteer attitude to go in there and inventory and then eventually salvage, toss, sell if it's valuable, but maybe retain for all this.
We never got anybody in there?
We had appraisers in, looked at having it appraised.
No, just appraisers, not
Oh, actually.
No, all the stuff.
Well, we did have someone, there was someone from the Mass Historic
Yeah.
Society that was down there that went through and looked at some of the stuff. I think one of our appraisers, his belief was, the people that own this house were antique dealers. So if they left it here, it most likely have a lot of value to it, what it's worth. There's a lot of pewter or silver plate, but there's just not a lot of demand for that anymore, according to the appraiser.
So we're about
Curious, yeah.
thinking this will be a huge funding source, but we just
No,
want
I
to be
just,
diligent
I thought we
in
had already
the
gone in
process
there and
because
no.
we didn't want to show up on Antique Roadshow with, oh, that's a $1.7 million.
Hey, no, you do wanna show it.
Yeah,
Show it.
fabulous.
Not if we sold it.
That's way, yeah.
So that applies to all the structures. But the main house in particular, we think is the cornerpiece of this historic architect that we'd like to hire. So we need to understand how to scope that work properly. We understand that there's some precedent to have that be a multi-phase process through CPC. So we need to learn how that works because I understand the rules of engagement. Our CPC is preservation specific, and that first step in the journey could be a reasonable use of those funds. We are trying to make sure we understand the difference between restoration and basic maintenance that needs to be done to get the house, leasable or something like that. So we'll be clear on that. That will feed, as I said earlier, the next step. So that will be a huge piece of work to digest, but a central piece of this whole plan. As I mentioned earlier on the small house, we're going to go after this caretaker scenario with pros and cons, and we'd like to be in a position in the next 90 days to come back to this group, whatever the timing works for you, and present a recommendation on that work. The bill, exterior wise, it's in reasonable shape. Inside, it just has, it has very poor access. The access to it really comes from the break in the guardrail, and more like Lincoln Road. It really doesn't lend itself to a commercial business from that standpoint, but it could be a very important part of the historic story of the original mission of the property. So again, back to the historic architect, we want to understand, its role in this whole story. We see no reason to tear it down, but it's not an eyesore as it sits right now. So, but signaling to the board that that's probably not going to be an ongoing business opportunity of any kind that we can see. The garage is in good shape, and we feel like we'll have the need to retain some things. And so we have an on-site storage there in the garage, but we want to, clean it up and organize. So in terms of funding, we're not here to request any new funds, but we do need guidance on the funds that have already been approved through CBC. And then we'll be back and we'll synchronize ourselves with the CPC funding calendar, which I understand, if I have it right, there's a next funding window that gets formalized in July, if I have the timing right. So we need to link up to that as we synchronize our work. Okay, next slide. So this is just kind of a timeline view. We think taking the inventory empty and clean piece of the line in the middle here is where we sit today. So we're kind of off and running. We got through the forming, the storming. We're hoping we'll be getting to perform, but it's a great group of people with a lot of passion. So we're here at the line here at the end of April. So we'll do the inventory. We hope to have your support conceptually, and then we'll bring forward the actual specific funding for the historic architect. And this is the implementation phase for that phase one of the outdoor space. We also will come back with the caretaker option in the next 90 days. That last item, sorry, Seth, to keep bringing you back, but if you could go back to the previous slide. The survey highlighted a gaping hole in communication. So it highlighted people who, don't even know where it is, don't know anything about it. Maybe you could share a few pictures, tell us more about the history.
Yeah.
So we'd like to partner with the communication director and others. This really gave us a lot of good input on a better communication strategy, which will probably be a new work stream in our work planning that we need to find good over. Okay, next slide. All right, summary. Speed the utilization of the outdoor space. The board made this investment roughly 2 years ago, and it's time to start getting the return on the investment. And we think this is the first, reasonable step to get the return on the investment for the community. So let's get going on that. Caretaker option in 90 days. Lay the groundwork for this funding strategy, which will be a long march, but this will be the foundational piece. And then begin crafting that long-term plan that is a blend of the outdoor space and the historic structures. Next slide, Seth. I think that's just the backup, so I'll pause there. I don't know how we're doing on time.
No, thank you. And there was great backup, and it was interesting to read some, didn't read all of them, for many, but good perusing. Great plan for me, personally, I think we really wanted to gauge how vested the community was in the property, so, because there was a lot of debate as to whether or not to sell it. Or do we really want to take it over? So that's great that we got that overwhelming sort of signal that the town wants to keep it. Just to, sorry, but.
In a vacuum, it's an easy question to answer, but we'll get into what it's gonna
The
cost
cost,
to maintain.
yeah, right.
That could change, right? But
No, and that was my second question about, the 501c3. We can't do it under our auspices, so it has to be done separately, right?
Yeah, so,
Yeah. Go ahead.
so we have a number of groups that grew out of town groups, like Friends of Scituate, Friends of the Library, Friends of Scituate Seniors. I mean, we probably have 15 or 20,
Many friends.
many friends. They're all 501c for exactly this reason, because it has to be an independent organization. There's some, shared resources as far as the folks that are interested in that kind of thing. But yeah, Nancy can speak to it more, but we have a lot of precedents for that.
Nancy also just pointed out to me that charitable gifts to a governmental entity are also tax deductible. So someone give us a gift for a Mordecai Lincoln gift fund, that can also be tax deductible.
So in other words, a gift to the town, should we decide?
So it doesn't have to be 501c3.
But isn't it restricted, you can't fundraise?
We can't fund. it.
Technically, like we couldn't launch a
cannot
campaign that
solicit
says give to the gift fund, that's the nuance there. But if you found the deep pocket and you wanted to.
We can take it, we can't ask for it.
Pardon me?
We can take it, we can't ask for it.
But also, the 501c3 is not expensive to set up.
No,
It just needs to be someone to sort of take the lead and get it organized, but it's just paperwork at this point. But in the meantime, if someone wants to be generous and send the town a donation, we certainly
that too.
accept it.
That's right. This is an all the above funding strategy.
Yeah.
so Mike, before I turn it over to the rest of the board, I have one more question. The speed with regards to the trails and the parking lot, the monies that were allocated from CPC, what was that, 70,000, 35,000?
I got 20,700 to do the engineering, and that would include, they've already gone out and they did the perimeter, they did the staking of the property. And now that I've been waiving that with all I was allowed to do at that point in time. To finish up and to get it ready for bid, to do the permitting and all that. So I have 20,000 there, that's a firm thing, Morse engineer contract I have. And then I got another 132,000 to do the construction of the driveway in the parking lot.
And how many parking spots was it?
We could get up to 14.
14.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, in that would be hopefully the handicapped accessibility, one trail going straight down to edge of the marsh.
Nice.
So
Okay.
I'm just waiting to be given
Yep.
the go ahead.
We wanted to do this, so that's
Yeah.
good. Susan, I know you've been involved, do you wanna,
Yeah, I mean,
anything you wanna add, or?
oh, the committee did a great job. a lot of hard work went into this. I think the survey is representative, I mean, 800 responses from them is pretty good for a survey. I mean, the Pier 44 was a lot more, but that was in our town. So, and I do think there was a lot of opportunities for education as well. All of the comments, the undecided, if someone clicked undecided, there was a comment that came down, what additional information do you need? So, that has given us a lot of information. And I mean, I think the plan is great. I think it's a good, we should start moving toward doing something out there, getting people out there. Second thing unrelated to this, but it's on the list for Ship Shape Day. So as you mentioned, Ship Shape Day, there's a lot of bottles and cans and ice cream containers out there, just for the property. So there will be quite a few folks out there that weekend cleaning up the place. So
Meet at 8:30.
8:30.
And we're gonna split
8:30, there
the
were
woods.
bags and everything, so,
But you need to dress appropriately, that's the only thing.
yeah, but I also think, I think it's a great, I was out there walking a week ago, it's a great property, and, it will be a real asset to the town. As far as, I know the buildings are gonna take a while, but, even to get people out there to see, it is truly a 360-degree view of water. So it's a magical place. And I think there could be a lot of projects out there as well. And I like how the committee framed it too, because it's kind of incremental. You don't have to spend buy everything that's, like, it can be incremental and maintain the house. To maintain it as it is would not cost the town a lot to continue and have an incremental, an incremental approach when we have a lot of other demands in town. And I'm very mindful of that because we do have a lot of other demands in town.
What's the square footage of a smaller house that you're recommending for a caretaker? Anybody?
I wanna say like 1,200.
Probably like 12.
Kevin, did you say 1,500
I'd say
maybe?
1,250.
Okay,
1,500 square
I'm
feet?
just curious, what it could accommodate.
Again, that house is like a single person or couple would live there. The bedroom's upstairs, and then downstairs is a big open room and a kitchen. So it's, again, we got good news today on the septic. It's the septic passed, so that's great. Always good news when there's money we don't have to spend. So, I mean, it's a fun committee, and I think they've got some good ideas that we might not have to break down.
Andrew?
I'm gonna always refer to it as calling, back to that, that's in the introduction, but as for the responses, for people to know, I mean, someone told me once that polling is like eating soup. You don't really need a spoonful to know that it's tomato, so the
Yeah.
responses enough are there. And I think it gives me a great short, medium, and long-term plan, right? I mean, it's clear, short-term, the trails and the parking that's there. I actually think that question 13, you said it was the most undecided. I think there's actually only 20% said they were opposed. 50 are for it. This is for the caretaker. So I'm reading that and saying, well, only 20% of the folks are saying this is not a great idea, but possibly up to 80% are saying this is a great idea. So I think, again, that's more of a medium term, and then as you look for the long term. So I love what you've done. I love that kind of have the group plan, and yeah, no, I look forward to this student set to make it work going forward.
Thanks.
Well, I thank the committee for all this hard work, and to put it into a format that I think is digestible and that does aim us at short, medium, long term is a very good thing. The model I would look at in terms of the big house should at least be, we should at least be talking to the Arts Association, because they've been very successful over the years at getting money from CPC to do projects that preserve the property without restoring it, if you will, so that it's been protected from further degradation by, we all know water is very damaging, and a lot of the projects they've done in water. And it would be nice if we could find an art association type group for maybe the big house, but you know, again, I think that's more down the road. And I will say the Historical Society seems to have had pretty good luck in renting out various of the historical sites. Obviously, the lighthouse is the biggest one, but the Man Barn House, I think they still rent it out. And there's a couple of others, so we have some experience as a town and as a community doing that. And so I just see great things on the horizon, and I'll end by saying, I think once you open up the trail and let people get there, your communications issues will start to dissipate, because, you know, I think people they want to go there, but they don't know that they can because they really can't. And Jim, is the MBTA parking lot, I'd like a definitive answer. Is it free parking at the MBTA parking lots on Saturdays and Sundays?
I honestly don't know.
All right, I think that's a big deal because it's right across the street from the area. And somewhere in my mind, I swear I've heard that on weekends you can park in the MBTA lots for free. You have to pay on the weekdays. So if we could sort of,
I mean, it might be free parking, but I'm not sure it's free parking unless you're taking T, that'll be the question. Still
well, how do they know you're taking
Oh,
the
yeah.
From what I hear, they don't even collect tickets anymore, so go figure. If we could clarify that, is there some,
Just gotta check with the signs down there.
yeah.
Same signs as Greenbush, so just check.
Well,
That was a short-term COVID thing, but I think it was extended.
it would just be good to know that
Yeah.
if we only have 14 parking spaces, but again, if we have 14 and people fill up and they can't get in, we'll come back.
Well, part of what we do have a caretaker there, one of the things we could ask them to do is give us a better feel for the flow. That kind of property will have peaks and valleys of use by
Right.
time of day, by season.
Tide.
Tide schedule.
Right.
And so it's not, you know, on average, there might be only a car there, but then there's times when there's 12. And
Right.
then there's lots of hours where there's 0. But yeah, nice to have real information. And that's the start of just getting going, just get the word out.
Right.
It also is just a great thing for a community to have a place where people actually, God forbid, interact with each other in a nice open space. I mean, it's a really a gem for just the spirit of the community, so I don't need to oversell the community.
No, it's great. There's a lot of open space in town that people don't take advantage of. So this will just be another nice venue. Karen, did you have?
Yeah, just quickly, first, again, I want to commend your leadership in this group and taking a very complicated situation and, you know, really digesting and coming up with these recommendations, because many of the members are here through, you guys are great, and I think that your cadence makes sense and the timeline makes sense. I have one question about the near-term implementation. So conservation has scoped out that it could be up to 14 spots in this state. Committee has spent a lot of time talking about, is that too much, and, you know, what their feelings are about the impact on the property, and some concerns about the impact of that on the rest of the site. Ultimately, is this conservation with this, with the Board of Health Meeting Group recommend to us that we make, that pull the trigger? Or is that Concom's call?
No, you'd be the one that would sign the contract.
Okay, so
So
conservation.
You will have to give them approval to proceed.
Will need to present to us the final plan.
I put the brakes on it, said you can't go forward with the parking lot until there's a decision as to what the property is going to be used for. So if the board is comfortable, we can give the go-ahead to get final design and actually go bid out the parking lot and driveway, see what those numbers come back. And then the contract comes back to you to approve. But
Is there an interim step on the number that needs to be fleshed out, or are we, is your committee?
I don't think you'll get more than 14.
No,
No,
but
finance.
I think Penny, what Penny mentioned is the very preliminary design allowed for as many as 14. We'd be happy to have a little bit further discussion on is that you want to go ahead at the front end and maximize that space now? Or is there a two-phase plan where you have kind of, if you needed it, you could do this, but you're trying to have a smaller footprint initially? We could certainly have that discussion. And there are different views if you want to go all the way to 14. But back to that peaks and valleys of traffic, when it's a nice day to put in a kayak, you've seen other locations where people are parked all along the road because it's a day to go out and do that. And so, you know, we kind of balance some of those types of things, but.
Yeah, I would put on your list too, your committee's list that, to contact Waterways too, the Waterways is putting together kayak racks. And have folks doing that, so, now that there's another location, that may be something to pursue as well. But are you talking more about the overall investment in the property, not just the parking?
No, I'm talking about going, just the approval, time, who has to, what are the steps needed to actually get the parking lot put in as soon as possible? I just want to be clear about what needs to be decided. The location they scope is actually wonderful because it's a flat piece of property, it's tucked behind the barn, from the street, you really won't see it. So it's
And
really
it's
well
parking
thought out.
spots, right, that's.
And it's,
Yeah.
it's basically.
I mean, it's almost a no-brainer for parking spots.
Is the suggestion somehow that they have to go back to Concom to ask permission so that they can approve it? and then
It has to
they
be
come back to
permitted.
us?
So they
Has to be.
They have to finalize the design.
Yep.
And then they have to go through the permitting, which would involve conservation permit.
So we can we give the approval tonight?
The engineers will do all this.
Penny, name and address, what?
Oh, Penny Scott Pipes, 8 Booth Hill Road. The engineering, that is all part of the next steps, as soon as they get the go-ahead and the PO. To go back, they will do all the permitting, they will go before Concom, anything with DEP, whatever, and they will prepare the papers for it to go out to bid, and they will both bid. I mean, this is all. Concom is, which is waiting.
Okay,
for
so it sounds
somebody-
like, so, yeah.
So still did, and so can we get the actual green light tonight to go out to bid?
You do the green light, do the design and the permitting,
And the permitting.
we have the bid documents, and then we'll take a look at that point. If we have to circle back, we'll circle back. At this point, you want to give them the green light to get to actual bid, but don't go there yet. I think you want to see what the final design looks like before.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
My last question, is just about the financing for the rest of the property and, building a timeline for that and what funds are available. The CDC will probably be available, as we said, for some, right, for preservation, but then it takes on the ongoing maintenance. Where is that gonna fit in our budget moving forward? We just need to make sure that we're being very thoughtful about that whole process and not just with one thing and not thinking about how much it's gonna cost in phase 2 or phase 3, or else it's gonna sit there for another 15 years, and that's not what anybody wants.
We're
If I may.
blessed with having Kevin Kelly on our team to help us with how we connect to those things that are not, in the preservation category. But
And maybe that's what the
meeting,
501c3 is
the
for,
septic
is really
system. But I think this focus on the caretaker will not be only that one house. We're gonna take a look at what it takes. The others in the short term, while we're trying to build the funding platform that I described earlier, it's minimize, pest control, winterize, seal, and prevent any further degradation. We're really not intending to spend much at all. It won't be free. But we'll come back separately with the small house if we need to do some things for the kitchen, the bathroom. There may be some plumbing work that needs to be done for the caretaker's house. That will come back as part of this due diligence phase.
Did you have one more comment?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, I think that the key to this is, especially as it relates to the big house and the other smaller properties, is that they're made so that they don't further degrade
Exactly.
and that we don't have leaks, we don't have, what was it, squirrels down at the?
No,
skunks.
Skunks. Yeah, the skunks right now. So, to me, it's a matter of taking the short, and I do think but CPC funds could probably be used, and it wouldn't be a big demand on them. The big demand on CPC could possibly be, if we ever decide, which I'm not sure we ever would, to quote unquote restore the house, which is a monumental task. But that's big.
Yeah.
So,
Okay. Good, all right, so I'm hearing that the board would like to move forward with the design and engineering for the parking lot.
Yes.
To some. Do I have a second?
Yes.
Second by Susan Harrison, all in favor?
Aye.
All
You
right,
wanna
so
see
we'll-
it before we let the bid, don't you wanna see it?
yeah, because I think everybody wants to see where how many spots, where it is, and
Yeah, that's fine.
give everybody final view of that. Sound good? Okay,
I did not hear what you
we just
said.
gave you permission to go do the design
Yeah,
and
Right.
engineering,
Yeah.
permitting, but don't go out to bid, everybody wants to see it
no,
before we
we
go
will
out to
go
bid.
out bid.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I will have bid papers
Yeah, perfect,
and.
thank you.
Thank you.
And thank you, James, to you and your committee, sure, but
just one more thing, I'd love to see if we can get this done for the summer season, so that people can be out there when it's.
good luck with that, but, well,
I don't know, it's like they've been waiting and waiting and
I
waiting,
know.
so I just like
it's a good wish.
ask, yes, thank you.
Thank you, great work, we appreciate everything, and, we move along very quickly, so. Thank you, have a great dedicated committee, so thank you to everybody else who was here with you.
Great team. Thanks, team.
Thanks so much.
And you, Seth,
Have a
thank
good
you.
night. All right. Good, all right, so next on our agenda is to, discuss the licensing agreement with the Scituate Serve Company. We, are Brandon Williams and Lizette Markham here?
We are, thank you.
How are you?
We're well, how are you guys?
Good.
Oh, it's not in here, never mind.
Those last.
I didn't lay the land, see the protocol.
Holy shit. How are you? Sorry.
We're so well, thank you.
So thank you for coming in, we just need your name and address for the record,
Sure.
and then we can talk about your use of the lease sticker.
Sounds fantastic. My name is Lizette Markham and I live on 69 Kennett here in Scituate.
Nice to meet you.
Brandon Williams, 655 Country Way.
So want to tell us a little bit about your business? You know, we have the Citrus Serve, you have a little presentation up here that Seth has.
Oh, that's fantastic. We actually weren't aware it was gonna be shown, so that's amazing.
It helps for the community to see
We
as
love
well.
that. No, thank you.
Yeah, we just want to share a little bit about your company and what you're looking to do, and then talk about, you know, we did have a company come in here a couple weeks ago, asking for the utilization of the beach sticker art. And we did approve it, although with some licensing fees.
Yes.
So our goal is to be consistent, with the folks that we deal with. With that, why don't you tell us a little bit about your company and how you intend on using the artwork?
Yes, thank you. Appreciate that. If I may back up for just a moment, introduce ourselves, and then we'll say a little bit about our company. So good evening, and thank you for granting us the opportunity to present for you today. My name is Lizette Markham. As mentioned earlier, I am a proud resident of Scituate by way of North Carolina, originally from Southern California. And out of all of the beach towns across the world, I chose Scituate as the home base for both myself and my husband and my 2 young kiddos. My professional background is in marketing communications with a specialty in graphics. And I have to say that Scituate's charm has been amplified by my childhood friend, whose deep roots and love for this town is contagious and a big reason for my family's move. So allow me to introduce my business partner and lifelong friend, Brandon Williams.
Thank you. To echo Lizette's sentiments, we appreciate the opportunity to come forward to share our personal stories and our vision of Scituate Circle. I grew up in Southern California in the same town as Lizette. However, my father's from Cambridge, my mother's from the South Coast, so from a very early age, I grew up bi-coastal, visiting family and friends on the East Coast. I moved to Massachusetts to attend my father's alma mater, Northeastern University, graduating with a BSBA in Management and MIS, and soon thereafter, Suffolk University with a Master's of Public Administration. I've used both degrees for the last 20 years as a contracting officer for the United States Environmental Protection Agency, Region 1 New England. I say all of this because my heritage, past, present, and future, is here in Scituate. I'm the fourth generation on my mother's side to live in Scituate. I moved to Hummerock with my partner in 2010, and now we live in our forever home in North Scituate. And our future, with all of our family and friends, is here in Scituate.
Thank you. So we created Scituate Servco to share our love for all things beach and ocean. Our brand celebrates the beauty of our nation's coast and its diverse cultures. Our ethos champions environmental beauty, community diversity, and the unique blend of nostalgia and innovation. In respect of that ethos, we chose to create beach apparel using a business model that reduces waste and minimizes overproduction through made-to-order fulfillment. We're proud to call Scituate our home base for our company while we expand coast to coast and beyond to the global beach community.
We're here with you today in hopes of securing a license to use the Scituate Beach Sticker logo. We have a few apparel offerings such as hoodies and t-shirts for adults and children, using our vision of the logo called the Bonfire Collection. It's a wink and nod not only to Scituate, but our beaches as well. Recognizing the board's feedback during your March 12th meeting, we came up with a few ideas we would like you to consider. On all of our Bonfire Collection product pages, we offer the inclusion of language and references to speak to one, the Scituate Beach Sticker logo competition and winning artist story. 2, a statement referencing the 2% contribution of all bonfire sales going directly to the town. If you agree to one or both of these ideas, we would love to work with the town, offline of course, to draft language that you feel comfortable with on our website. I'll give the floor back to you.
Yeah, of course. So what the next slide over is actually our internal roadmap, and we're excited to share this roadmap with you. Since June of 2023, we've been performing market research of both our brand and the gear that we're proposing, plus building, of course, community and business partnerships. We're thankful for the prompt that accelerated our timeline to present to you here today. It's pushed up all of our initiatives and gave us the pleasure to work with the town through our initial contact, Michelle. She has been exceptionally helpful in guiding us through this process. And we look forward to further collaborations with the town on such things as charitable donations and environmental impact projects.
Before we turn the floor back over to the board, I wanted to touch base on a few upcoming events that we plan to participate in here in Scituate and on the South Shore. Mark and Carrie of Board 143 have asked us to participate in the spring fling in May. Mark and Scituate Boat Club has approached us to collaborate and jointly host their spring and summer races. Hingham Unity Council has asked us to join their Juneteenth Freedom Day celebration. And last but not least, we have some ideas in the works with Kathleen at Mad Love, Robin at Oro, and Sherry at The Root. With that, we thank you for your time and consideration, and Scituate Servco looks forward to your vote. Yes. We yield back the remaining time.
Well, thank you, that was excellent. Congratulations on your new business. It's fun to see new small businesses come to town and thrive. It looks great. Where do you have the product decorated? Is it local or where's that?
Where is it being carried?
Yeah.
It's currently an online brand, as again, we wanted to make as little eco impact as possible. It is not in our roadmap to have a brick and mortar. However, we are open to having our merchandise in local shops, but it is an online shop.
So where do you decorate the beach sticker artwork? What facilities does that for you?
We print, it's a print on demand.
I understand that. I'm
Oh.
asking where, I don't know.
Oh,
I don't know if they-
They're technically based out of California.
Okay,
Correct.
okay, great. That's all.
No worries. Yes, you meant where is it pretty? Yes, absolutely.
Again, talking to somebody that's in the business.
Yes.
So just trying to cover where it's being actually done.
Yes.
I think it's great. I love your presentation. I wish you all the luck with it. Personally, as I said on the onset, we want to be consistent. It's the first time we've gone down this endeavor with, really licensing our artwork. So, we want to be consistent and afford you the same opportunity that we did previous businesses that came in a couple weeks ago.
Thank you.
Andrew?
Yeah, personally, one of the great things about this whole process for me was the branding selfishly for the town, because we want people see the sweatshirt, realize, why do I want to go down Cape? Traffic is terrible, and we're going to go to Scituate and support Scituate local businesses because they're much better and less expensive than those overpriced ones in Gulfport. So, so they should come here. So having that in one and other businesses to start, is the whole reason. So just have that in mind too, that part of this is the branding for our love of the town and for the local businesses and everything there. And as long as, we have council here that we're doing everything, proper in the licensing, I mean, that's the whole point of why we're trying to do it. So I love it and, best of luck.
Thank you.
I love it. Best of luck on a yes.
Yeah, I guess my question is for Jim, is it the same agreement that we have with the other group?
Yes.
That's the only thing that I would, be concerned about, and that obviously, you have a great, I love the word ethos, so we appreciate you being in town, and to Andrew's point, helping promote Scituate or Wellfleet.
Oh,
I had to pick some down, I ran them down.
You do realize we're gonna be on the news tomorrow.
Good.
That's great marketing.
Yeah.
Everything about it's great, and I'm glad that you picked Scituate as your home, and stayed with, best places. Invitation is the best, what is flattery, giving invitation is the best form of flattery. And seeing your timeline, it was obvious that you were onto something smart, and I really appreciate the acknowledgement for our local artists who created that. I think that was a point that you heard, and I appreciate you heard that, or taking that.
Do we, to that point, do we need to consult her and give permission? Are you in touch with the local artist?
No, we own it.
No, we
We
own
went over that with the last.
Right, but are
But
you-
for the acknowledgement, we would
For the
actually like,
acknowledgement, they're gonna have to get that from her directly, I would imagine. Put her name on a website, I don't think that makes sense, right? I mean,
Yeah. We
So I
would,
don't know, we can put you in contact with us.
yeah, we would prefer to run all language that goes on the website related to both the competition and the artists and the 2% contribution go through you, zero.
yes.
So just.
We'll work with Michelle on
We'll give you
that,
that.
just make sure.
Yeah, it sounds great, it's, as Andrew said, anything we, this is great branding for the town, it's something that, we didn't, it was a good idea from the community, and, and that's what this board is for, is to have folks bring this forward and have us get it, and, I'm excited to see everybody in their beach gear this summer, so.
You'll have to share the link too, and so.
Yeah,
Is it live already, or? are you still-
Yes, the site is live, that's correct, yes.
Share the link with Michelle, we'll get us up first. Did you see the agreement?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
we had the
You're
opportunity
okay
to review
with
it.
it?
Yes, we are in agreement.
Okay, great, okay, perfect. All right, with that, any other questions? Do you have any other
No, not at the moment,
questions? Okay,
just gratitude, we appreciate you.
Thank you for the time.
we appreciate your business. Does anybody want to make the motion?
Move that the select board approve the use of the beach sticker logo in apparel produced and sold by Scituate Syrup Company. Further to execute a license agreement for a 2-year term.
Moved by Andrew Goodrich, second by Karen Canfield, all in favor? Thank you.
Thank you.
Good luck. I see lots of bonfire sweatshirts out there.
You will.
Good, good. Okay. All right. So next on our agenda, is a review, hearing from the select board, from the animal control boards, an appeal by Kevin Boker and his attorney. See lots of people in here, so I'm just going to sort of go over the rules of the road in a selectman hearing, which is everything goes through the chair. If you want to be recognized, raise your hand. I'll recognize you at that point, and you would need to give your name and address and then speak clearly. I understand this is a very sensitive topic. I will tell you all that we are all dog owners up here. So we do not take any of this lightly. But also I will invite our attorney, who's going to speak to our attorney, then hear from Paul, just as a summary. This isn't going to be a rehearing. The board has been fully educated with the data and the facts from the Animal Control Board. We also have Officer Keith here tonight, who's been highly involved in it as well. If you have any questions for him. But we're not gonna relitigate the issue. We're gonna listen to the facts of what had happened and then hear what Attorney Gannon has to propose. Sound good? Okay. I don't know, Brian or Tim, did you want to start first with just an overview or?
What we'll do. So this is the decision of the Animal Control Board that was issued in January of this year. This is after 4 other hearings involving the dog in question. The first one, July of 2021. Findings of fact where the dog had bitten 3 people, one in 2017, one in January of 2021 with a child, the other one in May of 2021. Dog was ordered muzzled by the animal control officer. That muzzle order was then reaffirmed by the Animal Control Board. The second hearing in December of 2021, the dog ranger at that time had knocked Mr. Kelly down in his driveway, severely injured Mr. Kelly. The Animal Control Board reaffirmed the muzzle order. He required that Ranger and the dog have a training course completed within 6 months. Ranger was prohibited from walking on a Scituate public way until the training was completed. Mr. Butler was fined $300 for violation of leash law. Subsequent hearing was held in February of 2023. That was really just a hearing because it was determined the dog did not finish its training within 6 months. So Mr. Bogber had an attorney at the time. They asked to amend that order, so we amended the order that the dog trainer had to give us periodic updates on the training, let us know that Ranger was progressing. And then Ranger passed the AKC Good Citizen Program, June 5th, 2022. And then the final hearing was January 22nd, 2024. Police report from January 5th that Ranger had bitten a 5-year-old at Fairview Cemetery. Testimony from Mr. Bogdan and from other parties was that Mr. Bogdan was in the cemetery with Ranger. Ranger was not on a muzzle as required. He's required to be on a muzzle when off the property on Country Way where Mr. Bogdan lives. There was a family there with a 5-year-old child. There was an interaction between Mr. Bogdan and the family. The child either jumped or fell off the wall. Ranger bit the child, causing the child to bleed and have to get medical attention. Subsequent hearing was held on that, given the totality of the situation, given the fact that he's been unmuzzled on numerous occasions after the muzzle order was issued. The Animal Control Board did not feel there was any other thing we could issue at this point that would solve the problem. So the Animal Control Board ordered that the dog be humane euthanasia. This is an appeal of that decision under our bylaw. They can appeal the Animal Control Board decision to you. You can affirm it, you can revoke it, or you can amend it. That's why we're here today, and any questions?
No, thank you. And thanks for the last, I was gonna reiterate that as well, what actions you can to take tonight. Hi, Paul.
You.
Introduce yourself, good, how are you?
Yes, my name is Paul Gannon, and this is Kevin Boker, president of Scituate. If I may, I spoke to council, and I did have some documents that I forwarded by email, and I was supposed to give them to you folks or to the town administrator.
You can give the board, then I'll get copies.
Okay. Just, may I approach?
Sure.
I apologize for not getting to you sooner, but I may. And I will refer to these, if they have some relevance. Well.
Thank you.
No. Yeah, but-
That'd be great.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
And if I may, I just want to just make sure I understand the procedure, and thank you for, telling us about it. My understanding is that Mr. Volker may be able to speak tonight to you, but you're not looking for testimony for numerous people.
Correct.
And that's fine. I do have Dr. Hoover here,
who is part of the paperwork that I gave you that I'm going to refer to. And there are numerous neighbors, residents, people that have known the dog and Kevin for quite some time, so I just, there is a. So if I may, my regards to the chair, my regards to the board, and town administrator and council. If I may, what I am proposing tonight is that there be some additional conditions or orders in place, and I'm going to explain that in a minute. One of the things that we've been able to come up with, it's Maura Porter, who is in the paper, she does Clear Skies. She's somebody that's been training with the dog, and I'm gonna reference that. There's an advanced canine good citizen program that she's recommended, and basically it's for the owner and the dog, collaboratively to try to improve the training skills. And so, and obviously it's everybody's hope and wish, and I think you'll understand when I finish talking, nobody wants us to be back here again, nobody wants us to have any of these incidents ever again. So I will say that I didn't represent Mr. Boker previously, but I have been able to read a lot of the paperwork. And when I'm talking to my client and looking at the notes, there seems to have been some confusion, even up to very recently on Mr. Boker's part, about what he could do and couldn't do in terms of activities. And I think when we look at that January incident, he was under the impression, even though I thought his understanding, he had completed the training, that he was not to be with the dog in a public way. It seems to say that once the training is completed, he could be on the public way. He was trying to take the dog to a private area. And he and I have talked about it, and irregardless of that, I think that what needs to happen, and he understands it very clearly now, is that the dog cannot be around other people, and the muzzle needs to be on at every moment. Because I know in some of the incidents that were referenced, they weren't all bites, by the way, but the muzzle was on in some of the instances. So unfortunately, he thought he was training the dog in this case. And he's apologetic for that. But I want to now maybe just tell you about who Kevin Boker is, because well, it's interesting. I was reading some information, and I knew he was a highly decorated sergeant in the Army, and he served in Afghanistan, but I didn't realize to what extent the actions that he took in defense of his fellow soldiers, and people around him, people that people know, and to serve this country. And I'm going to highlight a couple of them if I could. One of the documents that I have is from the VA, and it basically, not that there's probably any contest to that issue, but he has PTSD, and it's from his time in Afghanistan. And his service dog, or his emotional support dog, is Ranger, and that's the dog in the photo. The dog is approximately 9, not quite 9 in our years, so he's getting up there in years, but he's been with him since birth. If I may, and Dr. Hoover may explain something that I think is so important here, but there's a lot of things that are important. And if I may, Dr. Hoover says, "I'm writing this letter to strongly recommend Kevin Boker, a highly decorated Army combat veteran, be granted the necessary accommodation to retain his emotional support dog." That's Ranger. Kevin Boker was diagnosed with post-traumatic stress by the Veterans Administration and received an official disability rating. Sergeant Boker's PTSD is a result of being a member of a 12-man advisory team, leading 120 Afghan police on patrols, raids, and direct actions against enemy forces, and I think that may have been right around 2008. Ranger, as a trained emotional support dog, has been instrumental in providing vital emotional support and assistance to Kevin Boker in coping with the daily challenges associated with PTSD. The unique bond between Kevin and Ranger extends beyond the conventional role of a service dog, evolving into an integral component of his therapeutic and coping strategies. The value that Ranger brings to his life is immeasurable. The companionship provided by Ranger has significantly alleviated symptoms of the debilitating anxiety and stress that Kevin experienced as a result of his military service. Ranger's constant presence has proven to be a stabilizing force allowing him to navigate daily life with increased confidence and a greater sense of security. Studies consistently reveal the positive impact of emotional support dogs on individuals with PTSD, including improvements, sleep patterns, reduced anxiety, enhanced overall mental well-being. In Kevin Boker's case, Ranger not only has demonstrated the ability to mitigate the effects of PTSD, but also become an essential partner in facilitating his reintegration into civilian life after his service in Afghanistan. Given Kevin Boker's distinguished military service and the tangible benefits derived from the companionship and support of Ranger, the doctors request that all necessary accommodations be made to ensure that this inseparable team remain intact. Retaining Ranger is not just a matter of preference, it is a fundamental aspect of Kevin's ongoing mental health and well-being. I thank the doctor for that. If I may, just so we can understand what caused this PTSD, I get a little emotional reading this. In 2008, Sergeant Boker served as a gunner for the Para-Provincial Police Mentor Team. He participated in 33 combat missions, which he was involved in 2 noteworthy enemy engagements. In addition to his assigned duties, Sergeant Boker assisted the team in mentoring Afghan police. On May 18, 2008, when patrol, Sergeant Boker and the vehicle he was riding on came in under direct and indirect enemy fire. During this engagement, the trail vehicle halted and reported their crew served weapon was non-operational. Under direct enemy fire, Sergeant Boker dismounted and ran to the trail vehicle, fixed the broken weapon. Still under enemy fire, he fixed the weapon, which provided effective fire suppression for the rest of the vehicle so they could safely leave that area. On May 28th, while engaged with the enemy, he laid down an effective MK-19 fire down a compound that was engaging American forces, threatening their lives. The action allowed the patrol team to maneuver more troops into the compound area, successfully destroying the enemy. Later that evening, he was part of a team to reinforce A&A being overrun. While en route, the location of the team was ambushed. Sergeant Boker returned fire along the 6-kilometer ambush, during which the vehicle was hit by RPGs and small arms fire. And there are others, and these are all part of the accommodations. But I just wanted to make one other comment on another date. As a gunner, he was repeatedly exposed himself to the imminent dangers of the IDs and VBIDs, giving spot reports to the truck at his own risk. His decision-making and weapons discipline resulted in 0 rounds being fired at his fellow officers, and from unnecessary oncoming vehicles that refused to yield to the U.S. forces. I say that because I was even surprised, even though maybe I shouldn't be, but I was surprised at the valor and the courage that this man exhibited for our country. And he's made some mistakes. I mean, but it's more out of confusion than anything else. He didn't understand that he couldn't be in that cemetery. He knows now. With this advanced training that we're hoping that we'll implement as one of the orders, he knows that he's not going to be around anybody, and he's already taken this upon himself now. Anybody in the town, on the street, even though I don't think that order is, there is confusion, even in effect, because he completed training. He's chosen on his own to go out and just stay away from folks, neighbors, children. He doesn't want any problems. He understands clearly that the muzzle has to be in effect. He understands all that. I'm sorry that it's taken time to get to this point for him to understand it, but he clearly does. And he's highly motivated. He wants this to work. He wants the safety of the town to be of utmost importance, which I know we all do. But he wants his dog. If the dog is euthanized, I could have the doctor speak of what the repercussions of that would be. I think it would be devastating. And he's in the condition he's in because he served that country so admirably. So I would ask that we find something, because we're here today to ask if there's some way we can resolve this. short of euthanizing this dog. I personally have been around that dog. I have dogs myself. So I'm not an expert. One of the experts I can refer to in a minute. But I found the dog very warm, very, cuddly. There was no issues with that dog. I felt very comfortable around that dog. I will say that in the documents I gave you, there was there's paperwork from the trainer, Mark Porter. And she did it, I think, in this year, maybe after the January incident. I'm not quite sure what the date was. But I think she did an evaluation of how he would be around children. She wanted to be able to determine whether it was a dog or was it potentially activity around him, and unprovoked activity, accidental activity around that may trigger a dog on a rare occasion. She found that the dog was fine, unfazed by children. I know there's people in the audience that have told me stories about the dog waiting for the kids to come off the bus, that they would play with the soccer ball with the dog. And so there's many stories of how this dog is such a beautiful dog and not a danger. I understand the board took whatever action they did, but in the end, I'm asking the board, this board, to let's find a way so that there's no ambiguities, there's no problems, no questions, so that he can maintain his mental health and well-being, and at the same time, the public is protected. I think that's a fair avenue. I make no, it's nobody's fault of the community. We're not blaming anybody. Kevin, thought he was doing the right thing. One time the dog was off a leash. We're talking a matter of 7 years. One time, and it would engage for a half a second or two with another dog, but the dog was on the leash. And I think the dog has been on the leash consistently, except for this training episode. And there haven't, no, he was leashed, he wasn't muzzled, but thank you. But the bottom line is he's making every effort to make this work for him and for everybody else. And all I'm asking you to do is to understand who we're dealing with, why he needs this dog desperately, and if we can try to find a way by keeping the orders that are in effect currently, and even if it involves us periodically coming back or interacting with the animal control officer, we would be happy to do that. And I told him, and I tell you, that I feel personally invested in this as well. I will stay involved with this process all the way through, so that if Kevin has any questions, that I can counsel him with a clear understanding of what the orders are, so we won't have any ambiguities. I know he's taken steps to keep the dog out of the area, so that there's no one in the community that's being even exposed to the dog. So he's gone above and beyond, I think, and be, on his own to try to make this work. But that's all I ask, is that you consider all these things. I know when the animal trainer, the dog trainer, it's in the packet, and when she said that, she said sometimes there's activities that can spook a dog. And I think what may have happened is when the child jumped off the wall, it spooked the dog. Because what was happening prior to that was that the young child was patting the dog, and the nanny was patting the dog. There were no issues. So it's very unfortunate. He feels horrible about it. But at the end of the day, I think if we implement the orders that are in with the additional training, and if they want him off the public way of the dog, she's happy to keep him off the public way. He'll take the dog in his car and take him away, away from an area to train him. I think there was another attorney said there were some private areas that could be used. He's just asking. I mean, this could be a matter of life and death for him. I mean, this is his crutch. This is his support, and it's just such a drastic step to take. And I will say one other thing in the report, the trainer mentions, because I think there was somewhere in one of the notes where somebody in control board cited a number 5 or some level of issue. The expert says that based on the criteria, which I put in your packets, that is not that level. It is a minimal level. And so why I say that, because the danger level, generally speaking, from the expert is minimal. So we're not looking at someone who's a threat generally to the public. So I know that there's other folks that may want to speak. I would like to have Kevin tell you a little bit about himself. And if anybody has any questions for me, I'd be happy to answer the questions.
No, thank you. And Kevin, please know, how grateful we are for your service and your sacrifice. And I think everybody up here recognizes how difficult Afghan family is for all military like yourself. So, please know that we do feel for you and what you know, I think our our difficulty here, I think our animal control board did their due diligence. You know, he already was under an order, you know, to have a muzzle. And it bit a child, and it was, you know, the third incident. So I guess what I would want to know is what would change moving forward to prevent that from happening again, because that's on us. If we, you know, don't affirm the current decision that's in place, and God help that something else does happen to another resident.
And that's a fair question.
Yeah.
And if I may, I don't know if you're finished, I apologize.
No,
I always thought that as part of any proposal, advanced training was something, because it's a higher level of training. I thought that was something that had to be in place, in addition to what was already in place.
yeah, I thought for the documentation that we had was already.
There has been
We already
training done, I'm not
went
sure
on
what
to
the
that.
advanced level of training.
He was in the a lower level training with the trainer, and I asked him to speak to the trainer to see if they could recommend something more intense in involving the owner and the dog more, so that we could, you know, handle any situations that popped up. And one of the things in the trainer's evaluation in January, she just recommended going forward to keep the dog away from children, people that don't know the dog. Obviously, that's a no-brainer. But in terms of, he's kept the dog away from any location in Scituate. He hasn't been walking the dog on the street. He's not taking it to places that are semi-public areas. He was confused by that, he thought it was a private location when he was training. And so he's taken those steps to make sure that there's really no chance that the dog outside the run and being on the premises will not be on a muzzle. And, you know, I mean, at the end of the day, after my conversations with him, he was still confused about some of the terms we were talking about, the public way issue. So there was some confusion there. I saw it in the minutes before, there was some confusion. But I know from talking to him, he's completely clear that what he's going to do is, and if it's part of an order, that's fine, is he's basically agreed to take the dog elsewhere for any type of outdoor activity. So other than being on the run, other than being on the premises, which he lives with Kevin, he would take the dog by vehicle to outside locations to train it and to be with the dog. So there really wouldn't be any interaction within the town and with.
Is the yard fenced in?
It is not, it's on a run, so when you come out of the porch, it's screened in porch, the run is right there. And I think from just what I read previously, the run is sufficient to allow the dog to get some exercise, unless she's being taken away. But at the same time, secure enough that there'll be no issues. And again, he's not having the dog out at all, in the town, he's taking the dog elsewhere. And is agreeable to that happening, if that's part of the order, that he, you know.
When you say, take it elsewhere, I'm confused by that.
So,
I have a friend who's got a large yard with two big dogs. You could go to her house in Norwell, fenced in yard, they play, she's in the backyard,
Gotcha.
6 feet to it.
Okay,
So
I
it's
wasn't
right there.
clear whether or not you had sent the dog away.
No, we take him, we go over to a yard where he can play with other dogs.
Right.
And at her house, it's fenced in,
Exercise.
and that's where he gets to can interact with other people and dogs, and he can speak to that if, you know, if that would be allowed. That's where we've been going a lot to play. Nice fenced in yard, no interaction with anybody. I've taken the action to take him off go up the Wampatuck on leash. He's hooked to me at all times. He's never off leash. He's always on muzzle. For training purposes, they give him treats. I took him to the cemetery, visiting graves. My mother's there, my aunts are there, my grandparents are there. So it was a combination of that. I interacted with the people there to advise them, this isn't a playground, don't let anybody in here, it's a solemn ground. And before that could be said, the incident happened. The woman was petting the child, the child was petting the dog. So it was just not a common occurrence, it started that it happened. The dog didn't viciously chase the child down, didn't viciously run after anybody. He was being pecked by both the people there. He was startled. There's no other explanation for it. There was startlement. Yes, he should have been muzzled. I had just come back off Cape, stopped there. It was the anniversary of Leon's death. Went to say a prayer there and utilized that time at dusk. Didn't think I'd see anybody, but it just happened. And so there was.
But are you only muzzling him when you're in Scituate?
No, he's off. If he's on the private yard, he's off muzzle. But anywhere else, when I walk him in the woods and walk a duck, he's on muzzle. He's on muzzle everywhere. It was just this time where let's get some training in, some distracting training. The squirrel running. You know, be a good boy. Here you are. Here's a treat. I always have treats in my pocket, so he's always being fed treats, and it's hard to do with a muzzle on. So I utilized that time, and what I mistakenly understood or thought was private area, even though it's open to the public, I didn't expect that there was going to be an issue or anything. It was a private cemetery that it wasn't Scituate municipal or it wasn't on Scituate, technically Scituate property. I understand it is open to the public, however, at the time I was there, I didn't expect that I'd run into anybody, and I stupidly utilized that time to continue to train with the dog. Just treats, and he's a good boy that, as Paul said, the reason he's a good boy is the training and the continued training that I'm constantly doing. Every day is training.
I just have a question. Sure. You said many times that it's an emotional support dog. I didn't see a copy of this certificate.
In
It says that it's
Massachusetts,
trained.
he has no certificate.
He's
So
not
trained.
he's not a formally recognized as a
So
sport
not
animal. So
emotionally.
he's emotional support that I've trained, that in some terms, you can self-train your emotional support animal. So over the 8 years that I've had him, we've created such a bond that he is considered an emotional support animal.
So you can take him on an airplane.
I don't know, I've never tried.
So there's no certificate, there's no.
There's
No training.
no state recognized certificate, no.
Brian?
So I just want to clarify, I mean, there's sort of two different things going on here. There's what we call a service animal under the ADA, which I understand this is not a service animal, which is specifically trained animals. But the ADA doesn't limit accommodations, things like that, to only a service dog. An emotional support animal may be an animal that's not trained or not certified in any way, but is still an animal that helps to alleviate symptoms or do something else. So I see no reason that this wouldn't qualify as an emotional support animal. It's not a service.
Thank you. Anything else?
I do, we'll come back to
All
it.
right, come back to it.
Yeah.
Sure. Susan, any questions? Karen? Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna do the board first, ma'am, and I'll recognize you.
You can ground shake. Mr. Becker, as Karen, as Chair said at the beginning of this, you're here after a very long and thorough process that's come through. And we started with our police officers on multiple occasions, and we've all read the police reports and everything, and responses and the conversations passed. And then 2 to 3 times before the animal control, I lost track of that.
There were 4 hearings with, one of them was just a clarification hearing, so there were 3 hearings with incidents.
And the thought of not, of denying you continued companionship for this animal none of us are excited about having this conversation, obviously. But the backdrop of this whole thing is the pattern of behavior and the pattern of disregard for what we need to do to keep people safe. And that's what concerns me about making further accommodations, is that there have been multiple times when accommodations have been made with the attempt to keep this animal with you. And so I'd love to hear just, you know, what's different now than has been in the past.
Well, you take into context, one of the so-called called attacks was, I was shaking the hand of a man I've known for 45 years. The dog was muzzled and leashed next to me. The man said hello to the dog jumped up to say hello. That's the vicious attack, but I'm sorry that the man was knocked down and that he was hurt. There was no vicious attack. The dog jumps up to say hello. There was no viciousness there. So everything I had done, that dog was trained, he's by my side. He jumped up to say hello. He had just been neutered. It was his first, technically, he had been on property for 10 days. It was his first walk off property. He's happy. So he jumped, a man says hello. I'm cordially shaking a man's hand whose family I've known for 45 plus years, next door neighbor. And he jumped up to say hello. Please explain to me how that is a vicious attack. A dog jumping up, you all have dogs, but your dog jump up and say hello to people. I believe that's, if somebody's not staying on their feet, I'm sorry it happened, but it was far from a vicious attack. The other two cases were, I'm sorry, the unfortunate happenstances. One was the dog was startled walking around a corner, was met by somebody wearing a full face mask, a full surgical mask and goggles. The dog didn't recognize it as a human. Dogs need to see faces. Dogs need to see facial features to recognize what it is. The dog jumped up, knocked it over, scratching the back of the child's ear with his paw. That was not a bite. There was no bite. I searched that child to make sure there was no bite. I saw a scratch on the back of his ear. There was no bite. So if you take into context these, as they were written, it sounds terrible. It sounds awful. I agree with you. But in context, they weren't the vicious attacks that were described. The dog was on leash coming off Museum Beach at the parking lot beyond. Child walking around and that happens, it just happened. I couldn't see if there was a child there, I didn't know. The dog walks into a child, if something's masked, you need to identify it, he couldn't identify what it was. It was an alien from the dog. So, okay, and then this last one, the dog was startled. I understand that I violated the law, the mandate on the muzzle, but it wasn't an intentional, it wasn't me, thumbing my nose at the board in any way, shape, or form. I took the time at a location that my family's the trustee of, my family controls. I mistakenly made that mistake. I can't say any further than, if you look at each incident, yeah, I understand, but a dog jumping up to say hello to a man, there's no vicious attack there. He's a dog jumping up to say hello. And somehow it get balled into a vicious attack because the man fell over. I'm sorry it happened, but the dog didn't intentionally go after this people. He didn't run after him and bite him. He didn't viciously keep on attacking or aggressively going after him. He knocked him over. I helped the man up. I called his son to say this happened. His son said, my dog does it all the time. He's us. They jump up. My dog jumped up to say hello. Where's the viciousness? He's cordially greeting someone. I don't understand how it suddenly became a vicious attack. And it's been going around that my dog viciously attacked an old man. There's no vicious attack. I've known the family forever. I was in one of their son's weddings. I played golf for them. There's my response is that everything I've done for this dog. I take him now, he doesn't even interact with anybody anywhere. We go to my friend's house and that's about it. If we see people, we walk the other way when I'm up, like when I'm on the walk talk. If I see somebody come the way, I cut into the woods, so he's not even near anybody that he could jump up and knock him in case that would happen. He's always muzzled in case we run into people. Just not gonna violate that.
Ask the animal control officer.
Yeah.
I am putting you on the spot, but do you have an estimate of how many specific dog complaints you receive in a normal year? Like
Do you get many calls? I'm just curious in context.
On dog bites,
On any similar kinds of, similar to,
there's a lot of dog on dog, and we do have a lot of dog bite here. I don't think I have any,
We've had one other hearing,
multiple.
You had one hearing.
one other hearing,
In what time frame, this year or
since I've been here,
7, 8 years?
6+ years. There's one other dog.
So they've been 4 hearings total and 3 for this.
Well, 5,
Okay,
there were 4 on Ranger.
okay.
Again, one of them was just, there was an order to complete the training within a certain period of time. He wasn't gonna be able to meet that, so the board met again. Mr. Bowker and his attorney presented the evidence that he needed more time, so the order was amended to allow that extra time and to allow periodic reports. So I don't consider that an incident, I just consider that a clarification. So 3 incidents with Ranger and then 1 incident with another dog. And that was a dog on dog, wasn't it?
There was 4 incidents where he bit people, and the 5th was when he attacked Mr. Kelly.
Right, we only had 3 hearings, so.
3 hearings, before the 4 confirmed bites.
Just in order for something to rise to a hearing before the animal control board, what needs to be happened?
Someone seems to make a request, we have a hearing.
So they were all at the request of someone.
Either the animal control officer or a resident.
I believe I requested all,
You requested.
I believe I did.
May I just add one thing? Just to answer, I think, not all of the bite incidents, as Mr. Booker said, one of them had, 2 of them, my dog was muzzled, but there was, the first one was, there was no complaint, two of them there were no complaints made by individuals. And the officer may have looked into one of them, after the fact, but there were 2 of them that, involved 2 dogs, in a skirmish, the first one, but there was no complaint about that.
They called
It
me.
wasn't,
I was gonna say, haven't.
No, they called me, and I didn't look at it, I didn't know.
well, my reading of the minutes was that it wasn't in 2017, there was no hearing, there was no complaint, that's what I read, I'm sorry if I'm wrong, I apologize. It wasn't until January of 21 where there was actually an order in place based on information I think the officer received. And so I don't know if he was even there in 17, but
That's correct.
yeah, so there were a couple of incidences that didn't involve dog bites and they didn't involve complaints. And again, I know Mr. Boger had explained a couple of the incidents.
I believe there's a report on each incident that was a confirmed dog bite.
There is, and we have that back.
And the,
Yeah.
the statements are in there from the Kelly family. Yes, we should find out to file an attack, they did. In their own words, I believe there's pictures too.
There are.
It showed his energy, that they do these things, so.
There are.
That came from their own words, not me.
Yeah, and, you know, just for clarification too, we're having a conversation with Paul and Mr. Boger, there's not gonna be testimony from everybody here, just so I'm clear, so I'll just ask, but I don't care. Go ahead, Karen.
We had this information for a couple of weeks because you were scheduled to come in maybe 2-3 weeks ago. So to be honest with you, I've had time to review it over and over and over again. And it is disturbing, it's upsetting. I think Maura mentioned, we all have dogs. This is heartbreaking. This is not an easy decision. But I do think the Animal Control Board has worked with you over the years in a reasonable fashion to try to make sure, because nobody wants to put a dog down. But I will also say, having owned dogs, the older they have ailments, they have arthritis, things happen to them, and they get more cranky, not less cranky. And so I am loath personally to overturn the decision of the Animal Control Board. They do not have an easy job. In fact, 2 of the people on the board are town employees because we can't get people to serve on the board. And it's allowed, it's legal, but it's that difficult to make these decisions. We are not, I hope I'm not stepping on any toes here, we're not the final say-so. You do have another appeal, but I will just tell you the photographs of Mr. Murphy.
Kelly.
I'm a Connolly, so I get to insult Irish people. They're very upsetting. They're extremely upsetting, especially due to the fact that they were when the dog was muzzled.
These weren't caused by the dog, they were caused by the fall when the dog, when he got knocked over.
The
We
dog,
understand.
yeah, and I'm not litigating this,
He
I'm just
jumped.
saying, this is where I'm coming from. And I truly, I thank you for everything you've done for our country. This is hard stuff.
And I don't disagree with most of what you said, I just, so it's clear, and I think we all know, is that the act of coming up, and I have dogs too, yeah, if I was an elderly gentleman, I may well have been knocked over. So the act of being, showing affection or friendliness from the test, I didn't see it as an attack from what I understood of it. But the fact that he fell, and the fact that he hurt himself is serious. And
And I would say, Attorney Gannon, that some of that conversation is about control of the dog. And we as dog owners always need to have control of our dogs. Now, we're not up here to debate whether it was a vicious attack, he jumped in to say hello, whatever, right? We understand. My dog jumps on me every day. And so I get that, but it's control. I control him not to jump on other people who come up to him. He gets startled. I'm in charge of everything that that dog does. And my heart breaks that he is an emotional support dog for you. But at the end of the day, in my view, it's about how much control does the owner have over this dog? And it doesn't seem like it's strong control. And I will echo, I mean, Karen did say there is other recourse, and I want everybody to understand that too. I don't know where we're gonna fall, but, you know, our role is to decide whether to affirm and uphold the animal board's decision, whether to rescind it, or do something other, and depending upon where this board falls, you do have the right to appeal to the district court. So I just want to be clear on that, okay? So I think I was. So, I mean, yeah, breaks my heart to uphold what they said. I mean, that's sort of where I'm falling as well. I don't have the confidence that you have control over your dog, I just don't. From the evidence, and I know you love him to death, you know, no pun intended there. I mean, we all do, we love our dogs, but they're our own. Something that my dad, you know, ex-Navy air fighter in World War II, told me with our dog, he said, always remember, it's a dog. And I try to keep that in my mind as hard as it is for all of us who are dog lovers. But at the end of the day, it's not a human, it's not a child, it's not right. We have to do the right thing to protect the residents in our town. And I have to keep in my mind that it's a dog, and not all dogs are good, not all dogs are bad. And, you know, sometimes it's just about the control, and I don't think that controlling the dog has been demonstrated over the years. We're talking 2017, it's been 6 years.
I wasn't present for the 2016-17 incident, I wasn't there, so.
he was serving, and he was
So
away.
this is the same dog under a different owner?
No, same owner, but the
My
family had,
parents were taking care of the dog.
the two dogs got in a fight,
Two dogs. Well, I can't speak without, he wasn't under
Same
my
dog,
control.
okay,
same dog.
yes, so.
And the other thing I will add to that, you know, I understand is, I obviously have a dog as well, and I'm very familiar with dogs and interactions. Is there are people here, and they're here to support Kevin and the dog, because they have experienced that this dog is just the opposite of what may have happened in January of this year. And so, if you're understanding that he wasn't there on the 17th, in 2021, there was two dogs, there was no injuries, there was one of the incidents, that he was muzzled at the time. And in the last incident, he thought he could go to a private place to train the dog. Other than that, and it sounds, 7 years is a long time. He's been doing it, and the people that are here have seen him do it treat this dog and control the dog. And I will say this, that, you know, and I don't know everybody on the board, but I know that I didn't serve in Afghanistan. And I'm not ashamed to raise that issue, because the dog is for his mental health and well-being. So I'm asking you to take that into consideration and help us try to find something, in taking in mind that there has been an incident. It may have been a startling incident in January, which is potentially could be a mitigation, because literally they were patting the dog prior to the startling incident. So, and the people here see the good in the dog. I saw the good in the dog. There was no threats, no harm, no issues. So I'm asking for all those reasons, but maybe most important because of this man. He needs the dog. If we can find something, put it on a short time, you know, put it out 30 or 60 days and see what's going on, and then reconsider your decision. But once you make a decision and you say, let the courts decide, there's no guarantee that they're gonna make a decision based on all the facts. We just don't know that. I mean, I'm asking you, obviously I've been in your shoes, and I know that you have the ability to make a decision. And I don't think you're putting safety at risk by, if you set some strict conditions, in addition to what we may have said. But he's doing everything he can. He needs the dog. You heard the doctor testify what effect it's gonna have on him. There's a guy who served our country, you know, and saved people's lives up there. All I'm asking is to give him an opportunity to show that there will be no more issues. And if they're in 60 days, if you see something wrong, you can reconsider your decision. But
The more I sit here, the more uncomfortable I get about, and more, the angrier I get people in this situation.
I understand.
Because my dogs have a GPS on them. I don't know if Ranger has a GPS.
He's never on my site, he doesn't use them.
Well, because sometimes gate gets open, dog gets loose, I get a text. If I'm in a situation, I'm just telling you where my head is at. Where I know that I'm down to my last strike with my dogs, I'm gonna do everything, as you just said, to do. So I would get the GPS, I would know that dog is loose. I would make sure all those things are done. And I am not hearing any of that personally. In fact, again, I'm becoming much more uncomfortable with that. And I'm more upset also with us as a town to make sure that that for our veterans and folks, that you can get the emotional support from other health professionals, that you're there. Because whatever's gonna happen to Ranger, either soon or in 8 years, there's gonna be an issue. And to say that this is a matter of life and death, sir, to me right now, this decision, I mean, that's quite the thing to claim for us to do. And I wanna make sure that you have the resources from our professionals in town to mitigate that. I don't think anyone wants this dog. I know that you're a good person and you don't want this dog to hurt anybody. That doesn't mean that bad things don't happen to good people. And that and usually bad things happen to good people when they get emotionally involved. With people that we love. And animals that we love. We don't always make the best decisions. Like really, really good people, they make some bad decisions. It happens all the time. And it's like, you know, where does the system fail? I don't want it to hinge on, this one type of a decision. I want to make sure that, again, that you have the support and that we can move forward.
Do you mind if I respond to that? The support
No,
system.
please,
The support
yeah.
system sucks. The support system is, here's drugs, we're gonna drug you, go sit in the corner. That's the support system of the VA and everything else. This dog has gotten me off those drugs. It's gotten me out into public and gotten me out of the corner of the room, all doped up. That's the support they give you. Here's your drugs, now go be a good little bit.
again, I wanna make sure that if there's, again, as a town, for clinical services, and things that, you know, we can do, right, that's what, on the overarching thing that frightens me as well. That's where my head is at, if that makes sense.
Susan, anything additional?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with everything that's been said. I mean, the first thing you learn in dog training school is you're responsible for the dog. And my heart breaks for the dog, I mean, because the punishment is tough when you're truly responsible for the dog. But I just can't, as hard as this decision is, and I think I've read the packet 3 times, it's been postponed a couple times. As hard as the decision is, I can't live with the risk of an older adult in town or a child in town being having another incident. And you know, debating on the scale of the incident, it's always could be worse with someone falling and hitting their head. So I'm so thankful that that the people ended up that they were okay with the incident, but I am also fearful of additional incidents. And again, the longer we talk and you're explaining that you're in love with that car, you know, I mean, that makes me more anxious with potential incidents. You know, runners by the house, there's just so many. It's hard to sit up here, but you have to make the decision that's best for the town. And I think that the Animal Control Board did their due diligence and you know, affirming their decision is the best decision for it.
Right, so I think we're hearing a common sentiment up here. So I'm just gonna ask, I'll make a motion to affirm the decision of the Animal Control. Do I have a second for that?
Second.
Second by Andrew Goodrich, Lori. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? We affirm the decision, and sorry, you know, I think Andrew said it actually best, you know, if you don't want to be in this position, you know, you have another course of action and maybe that'll work, I don't know. You know, several of us have had several dogs over the years, right? It's the worst thing we have to do sometimes, but yeah, sometimes situations cause you to have to put your dog down earlier than you wanted to. Well, I've been in that situation and it's heartbreaking. But there's always the opportunity for another dog to provide that comfort too. So I thank you for your professionalism. Thank you for your service. I know you hate us right now. I get it.
Thank you, thanks.
No, I understand.
Thank you for your time. Committee and everything over. I didn't want to get up and,
Process.
thank you for your time. Appreciate it.
Thanks.
Yes,
sir.
You originally said that we were allowed to raise our hand and ask a question.
I know, and then I did correct
Can we
myself.
change
but-
that?
Yeah, because it wasn't going to be
Gotcha.
any.
Okay, understood.
We understand. Yes.
My name's Dan Burke, 23 Fairview Ave. I want to be heard because this is a no-win situation. My son was the last victim that was bit by a dog. And there's very few situations in my life that are true no-win situations. Mr. Barker spoke to me when I was coming in saying I'm here to get his dog killed. And he actually was mistaken with why I'm here. I have a couple of beefs with what's going on, actually, as a matter of fact. We had this hearing before, and at the animal control hearing, it's, the town issues an order for a muzzle, right? Right now, the system is, if you ignore the order doesn't have any teeth. It's not like it's an arrestable offense, it's not like a fine, there's no punishment short of putting the dog, right? So it's like, the kid, I don't want, you know, my 5-year-old was a little traumatized, he got bit by a dog. it wouldn't have happened if the dog was muzzled, right? So that sucks, right? So now I got a neighbor who's a decorated war veteran, who's pissed at me like I'm trying to put his dog down. When really I'm trying to say like, hey, why is the system that we have, like, look, I'm a contractor, I start without a permit, they start finding me daily. It's arrestable, it has the power of law behind it. The town has a board with an animal control board, this officer issues an order. And if it's neglected, there's not a fine, there's not a fee, there's not anything other than this hearing in euthanasia.
I think you
So
raise a good.
I wish that there was a good
point.
way to punish, as crazy as it sounds, I wish we could punish Mr. Barker, I wish he could hear this. Like, I wish he could have some form of punishment, not the dog be
Okay,
punished.
I appreciate your sentiment, and
But
thank you for that.
my
One
second-
second, I hear what you're saying. We
My-
have a bylaw review committee that's taking part.
Really?
Right.
Oh, that warms my heart to see. I feel like it's a good opportunity to change. The second part that I'd like to have on record is, my son was the victim of this event, and this hearing happened without my notice. That kind of just, like, I'm a town, I'm a citizen, I come to hearings, I'm involved. It's a little disheartening to me that I wasn't notified by the board, that a hearing involving a matter involving my
It's not a
five-year-old son.
hearing. It's not a public hearing, it was just an appeal hearing,
Okay.
so it's not like,
And I apologize to
same.
the board, I just wanted to voice my frustration
That's
with that,
fine.
because
thank you.
this is a third rail topic, obviously emotions are high, and I wish Mr. Barker could hear my view on the situation as
No, and
well.
we'll take up-
Unfortunately,
We will
you
take,
know,
thank
he's
you, Mr.
unable to
Burke,
hear that.
we'll take up the issue with the bylaw and, bylaw is what it is right now, that's what we have, but doesn't mean it can't be reevaluated, we're going through a bylaw review committee right now. So it
And
will.
I agree, ma'am, and I
be reviewed.
understand it's a hard board to get people to say, this is a tough, like, this is how we resolve disputes with neighbors, right? Because we're a nation of laws that this man worked to protect, right? Like, we're a nation of laws, this is how we do it. I just want to voice my grievance of how we're doing it, because it creates a no-win situation. Like, this sucks for everyone involved, including the board members who are, like,
Thank you.
it's
What
tough.
what I just
All right,
heard
we're
is
gonna
that
move
after
on.
we kill this dog, we're gonna change the bylaws.
Excuse me, ma'am.
That's what I just heard.
No, that's not what I just heard.
We will relook at the bylaws after this dog is done.
We're gonna move on.
He was allowed to stand up to speak, but no one else was. And the
We're gonna,
decision had
we're
already
gonna
been
move on,
made,
and we're done
but
with
you
the
allowed one
agenda.
person to speak. Perfect.
This
is the right time.
And that decision would never end up like that today.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. Not easy things, not an easy thing. But I would take a look at that process. Brian,
We are pretty confined by the state statute.
I'm sorry, say that again?
So I said, we are pretty confined by the state statute when it comes to that process. The general court is focused on remedies that we're allowed to order with respect to a dangerous or a nuisance dog. Even if we had a bylaw fine, municipalities can't do anything more than $300 a day. We have to see violation every day, do multiple days. So I get it, everyone's frustrated.
Right.
The tools that we are given as municipalities in our so-called home rule state are often very feeble. And I'm not trying to defend them because I personally don't think they're adequate either, but they are what we have.
The dog had been seen without the muzzle. Officer Keating had issued a citation. Problem is, the dog was off the muzzle, the dog bit. That's why we're back here.
Right.
Because that's the remedy, once that happens, we're back here. If Craig was out and the dog was down the street, he never was muzzle on, Craig was stuck right. I think the dog bit his child, we're into the hearing, we're into what the statute says we can and can't do.
Yes. Okay. Next on our agenda, we have updates and revisions to the select board policy.
The fun stuff? We have to wait for Brian. Oh, Lori,
you like me to just set the stage before she comes in?
I don't have internet access, so I don't have.
You know, I just have the force,
Yeah,
log on, there's nothing else to gone out.
yeah, the
When we
first,
go into center.
of the liquor license. There are two tranches that you would like to bring to the board's attention tonight.
To what?
Tranches.
Tranches.
How do you spell that? Tranche. Grouping of.
We know the
That's the right word.
I only know about the mortgage, the prime mortgage crisis.
Oh, right, tranches.
Tranches.
Tranches of mortgages. And then we're gonna
Right,
ask
yeah.
that, the further down you get, the worse it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, like some tranches. Jump
Election policy.
Jump bonus.
Sorry, I mean.
Well, if they'd like a motion, I would like to approve all of the policies.
I need it.
They have so much food, thank you.
Thank you.
Chair, could I ask a technical question? Point of order.
Yes.
On the liquor policies, the way I see it, our attorney just. No, he was not the right. Oh, he was. Oh, yeah.
Well,
Okay.
His partner was the attorney that reviewed
Yeah.
our policies.
It just, on a broad view, it looks to me like most of it was cleaning up stuff.
Exactly.
Okay. Because to try to read all, I read all of it in twice, so that's still like. Okay, just,
It was
I jumped right in.
comparing all of our liquor policies with our bylaw, with our field policies, with our maritime center rentals, and just making sure everything was all in line.
Somebody's leaving.
Yeah,
really. Wait we'll wait for
One second, I'm trying to bring them up, because I know
So-
they were sent separately in my
So
computer.
you are astutely accurate. That there's the first group that we're gonna review are those, all the policies in the big red book. That contain, that pertain to liquor licenses. And you're exactly right, Lorraine did yeoman's work, I'm gonna turn it over to her when Susan gets back. To pull out anything that says something about liquor in here, including a bylaw, which we'll talk about in a minute. Send them to council. Say, because she knew that there were some things that were redundant or out of date or whatever. And have them come back and say, yeah, you should do it this way, you should do it that way. And then attitude is that, the right, can walk you through those.
And you're gonna do a control find and change every.
Everything
board
on these
select
select
board.
board, yes.
Yes. I knew that, I just said.
She's every man who will walk the week, that's all I know.
Control find for place.
All right. For the fire.
You ready?
Yeah, we're ready. Who are we waiting for?
All right?
No,
Lorraine's
right here.
gonna do the
Oh,
liquor
go
one.
ahead.
Okay, so the first group here are select board policies that were reviewed by Ivrea Freed, who is wonderful town council, very experienced in liquor and other policies. And we went through an extensive review over several meetings, some online and some via Zoom, to review all of the liquor license policies, to make sure everything was current, because they haven't been done in a long time. So I'll start just doing a brief overview, and you can ask me any questions on the policy. The first one was 12-98, which is really our annual inspections of the town for our annual license. And this was just a rewrite to change from board of selectmen to select board, include all the current departments that review the premises of our businesses in town. And this was just an update to existing policy, correcting dates, when things are due. And that's really it, there's no major change here. Any questions on 12-98?
No.
Okay. The next, now we get into the actual liquor license policies themselves. 55-15 was established in 2015. And this policy
is applicable to liquor licensing, meaning we have no, I'm gonna give you an example just to make it easier to understand it. We started this policy because if we have a package store license that becomes available, because we have no package store licenses currently available, they're all in use because of our quota system that the state
The state gives us.
the state gives every community in Massachusetts. So should a license for a package store be turned back into the town of Scituate, which happened on one occasion in 2015, we need to establish a policy as to, okay, what are we gonna do to fairly give people the opportunity to ask the board for the package store license, for example. So this was the policy that we had put together. I also wanna say Ivrea felt that our town had the best policy she'd seen in the state,
Who said this?
the town council. So she couldn't believe like the level of detail and the information that we had, so I thought that was a very nice comment.
Very nice.
So this policy, as I said, is just updating, to current information and applicable if we have any licenses that become available, particularly package store, we have none, that get turned back to the board to give people. Does anybody have any questions about this? Okay.
I seem to recall there being a bit of a go-around a couple of years ago over the quote-unquote selling of licenses. Would this, is this a license that can be sold the way?
Yes, it can be sold.
So it wouldn't be out of the ordinary for someone to come in and say, I am giving up my license, I'm selling it to her.
They would never come in here.
They would just.
Anybody can sell their liquor
Private
license,
sale.
anybody can sell their
Okay.
liquor license, and that would be called a transfer of license.
Okay.
So they may have a private agreement, and I can list many that we've had in town.
Right.
Yeah.
The most recent being the Void sold their package store license to Driftway General Store,
Right.
so that they could have a package store beer and wine.
Right.
And then we did a transfer of license,
All right, so.
and that is legal under the Mass General Law.
So the likelihood of it happening that someone would turn licenses is probably somewhat negligible, but it's worthwhile to have a policy.
Well, it did happen, and that's why we have the policy.
Oh.
Because nobody wanted to pay the astronomical price the person was asking for the license.
So they took nothing instead of.
They took nothing and turned it
That's
back.
very interesting.
Yes.
A negotiating tactic. We don't get that, but never mind.
Cut your nose off.
Yeah, there you go. So anyway, so that, well, I won't even get into the trail of where that license was sold.
That's all right.
But it was sold.
To clarify, thank you.
Okay. So the next, any other questions on 55-15? Okay. The next policy is 57-16, and this is the policy that we have for a special one-day license. So this is for, events at, I'll just give a few examples at the Maritime Center or at the Scituate Harbor Community Building, St. Mary's, different places in town, Gar Hall. And it's the one-day liquor license policy. Again, there were no significant changes to this policy. We were just cleaning it up, going through some.
Yeah, the only thing I'll note is under general, we added select board or its designee on the Mondays, which is to accommodate Jim, wasn't that?
That's correct.
We do that.
It was to give you the flexibility, flexibility to select board or its designee.
So if we thought our TA was capable of making that decision.
As long as I'm invited, they get the license.
You were what?
As long as I'm invited, I'm approving the license.
That's
there you
the
go.
invitation list.
Hi, boss.
That's the only
There you go.
content.
Look at me.
I mean, we reviewed what is required, we put in the fact that if a denial is warranted, the town administrator shall present the application to the select board for its consideration, which was one of your stipulations for delegating the authority to the town administrator. So we added that into the policy. We just want to make sure everything lined up. Okay? Any questions on 57-16? I'm sorry?
I said you guys deserve an award after this.
You don't find this fascinating?
No, I don't
Okay,
know.
I'm glad, Bill.
Okay.
Well, listen,
Nobody wants to add.
I wish my retirement was 2 months earlier.
It's just gonna seem like it.
Anyway, I'm just praying I can get it done. Okay, before Mara, even I didn't wanna put it on poor Jamie either.
Thank you.
Oh, well, thanks.
Well, you know all this stuff, mostly. Okay, the next one is, I believe it's 59-17. So I'm not sure.
And a policy I have no idea was.
Okay.
Brown bag.
59-17 is a policy that we've had for a long time. It was actually redone a couple times. But this is a brown bagging policy, and there were some changes in Mass General law, so we updated everything.
6218.
What's that? 59-17.
Page one
Brown
seventy
bag.
six.
It's brown bagging, meaning, you know, people can bring their own.
You're bringing your own like liquor.
Yeah, let's.
This, just to let you know, this is actually, just to let you know, this is actually, this is actually a choice of a community. The state of Massachusetts does allow restaurants, does allow communities to allow brown bagging to bring your own alcohol into a restaurant. Not a lot of restaurants do it, but there's some great ones in Boston we used to know, the No Name and different places like that.
Yeah, you get a corky fee, or like a nice
Yeah.
bottle of wine.
Yeah,
But like, all their margin is alcohol.
right, so very,
Okay, well-
very
Bad
few.
idea, bad idea, the
Yeah.
restaurant.
But there was the Petite Bistro, the little French place in Situate Harbor many years ago, you could bring your own alcohol in.
Yeah.
But the select board at that time made a decision, which they call the brown bagging policy, which is, this is what is updated. That we don't allow people to bring in their own alcohol into restaurants.
Okay, just the club said.
Well, may I?
Yeah, just clubs.
Okay. I'm just curious as to why there is a preference for wine versus beer versus spirits versus, I think, I can understand the spirits. What I
It's
can't
Mass General
understand,
law, I don't know.
okay, that to me seems a little weird. Plus, who's enforcing this $30 per bottle of wine corking fee?
The restaurant.
$30 per bottle. The corking fee.
It's a club, not a restaurant.
Yeah,
It's a club.
But still, I mean, I don't.
Whether they enforce it or not, you know, we have no control over it really, unless we did a sting
Probably
or
just gives them
something.
the flexibility to do that.
We could do a sting.
I'll volunteer.
We do have a liquor.
Not,
This is a must.
Yep.
This is a must
Any
here.
changes on 59-17? You okay?
Aaron wants the $30 per bottle of wine fee.
You bring your $10 bottle of wine, they charge you $30.
Yeah, that's on Mass General law.
And what if it doesn't have a cork?
There you go.
They don't need a cork.
Sorry. I just
Big
want.
on Martha's Vineyard where you have dry
Ways
towns.
around it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Get the box.
I'm sorry, I don't need. to-
Okay, the next one was really, took the longest to review of everything, 63-18. Because that was our rules and regulations for holders of alcoholic beverage licenses in the town of Scituate. So we went through this with a fine tooth comb. And again, there's really not a lot of significant changes. We did review in detail the rules and regulations around serving selling alcohol to a minor under 21 years of age. We didn't make any significant changes, we tightened it up a little bit from a legal perspective.
That was on advice of council.
On the advice of council, yes.
And what number is that?
There actually, it's on page 7 and 8.
180.
180 is where I see
I'm
it
sorry,
on our backup.
Policy.
serves or sells alcoholic beverages, letter E.
And like I said, these were just tightened up, they weren't changed. There were some things that were illegal that we had in here that she,
I mean, I think it's good suggestion.
That's good.
As far as like clearly
right,
defining and also tightening up.
correct.
What about, do we mention in here at all, the installation of the software?
The software that's not legally required.
Oh, so we can't, it's just recommended?
Well, there is for package stores that we recommended, but
Okay,
you
not
can't
yet.
make restaurants, they know the serving people at table.
Mhm.
85 number 4.
We didn't take it out. There is no, we had to take some, we had to modify it because there is no list at the Mass Package Store Association. That we were originally told, there is no list. So we had to check a lot of things here.
Oh, I see, perfect. May I ask a question about G?
About G,
G,
yeah,
decorum,
what number?
G as in George?
I know, but is it 1G, 2G, 3G?
Page 183, it's,
183 under number F, hours of sale and closure. Well.
G
no.
is decorum.
G is decorum,
Decorum, G.
G
okay,
under-
I am concerned, some of this is clearly, we wouldn't want it, disorder, disturbance, prostitution, illegal gaming, unlicensed entertainment, the sale of blah, blah, blah. I have a real problem with the word lewdness. I would prefer that we not get into that. I think we got into an issue.
this is in Mass General Law, word for word.
I know what you're.
I don't know, does that mean we have to include it?
I think it gives you, I think you do, and then I also think it gives you leverage in a situation like this.
Right, we may not be able to define it, but are we gonna know when we see it? Is that the step? I
No, that's what I think.
I don't.
But should a complaint occur,
Which we had. Right. And which, as I recall, we decided we weren't going to make that judgment. Because what's lewd to someone is not lewd to someone else. I think it's an overly broad term. I don't wanna get
Can
constitutional
we
here,
strike
but
it if it's in Mass General Law though?
I can check with the attorney.
Yeah.
It
Check
would.
it.
I would prefer not to put a future board into the, business of trying to decide what is lewd and what is not. Because I guarantee you won't be able to come up with a definition that will
Satisfy everybody.
satisfy everybody.
I think we should.
Fair point.
That bill. File.
L-E-W-D.
For an amendment of the law.
A lot to botched.
Debauchery, no debauchery.
It would be
whatever. Or tranches.
Okay, anything else?
No,
Anything else?
that word just caught my eye because of our previous situation.
It's out of Mass General Law, I will check with everyone.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I'm interested.
You just wanna remove the word lewdness?
Yeah.
Okay.
What the definition of lewdness?
Everything else.
No, I'm looking and it's like
all-
basically
it's all
someone
sweeping.
flashing somebody else.
All sweeping.
It is all sweeping, but the
The
example.
original sense was belonging to the laity in Middle English, belonging to the common people, vulgar and latter, worthless, vile, evil, deemed in the current sense.
We started to that process.
Proved an
No, I'm
offensive
just,
in a sexual way.
No, point taken, yes, let's go.
If it's not necessary, then I'm not.
No, I think it's.
Any other changes on 63-18?
I don't think so.
Okay,
I just wanna keep knowing this.
okay, so that is all the liquor license policies. Now, in doing those liquor license policies, we had 2 bylaws that I will bring to you at the next meeting that needed to be updated.
Okay.
So we'll bring them to you at the next meeting, you can review them. Just to make sure they're in line with our policies, and after your review, we'll send them to the bylaw review committee to have them review them. And then they'll be put on the fall special town meeting for your final vote. And it's just to align everything.
Thank you.
Okay, and then we have two policies to delete because they were already included in the bylaws and liquor policies. So first, I guess I'll have you vote on the motion to approve the revised select board policies that we just reviewed, with updates from town council.
Yeah, I would, with them, there are 5 that she presented, I would say we vote on 4 and wait till next week to see if council says how we move this.
Yeah.
We don't have a cheat sheet. It's in here.
No, it's in the way beginning.
It's,
So we looked
I
at.
think we can approve it with the removal of, pending removal of lewdness,
Okay.
okay?
That comes back.
And then we don't have to,
Right.
it's a lot to go back and forth. with
Right,
these
so
things.
I think the motion would be to approve the revisions to.
I can state the motion for you.
Thank you.
Okay, that'd be great.
Move to approve revised select board policies 12-98, 55-15, 57-16, 59-17. With the removal of lewdness, pending removal.
So moved.
Hold it,
Wait, no, we have more. Do we have 63?
and 63-18,
Oh, sorry.
with updates from town council. There you go.
So moved.
Ms. Karen,
Anybody second?
Mr. Goodrich.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And then the next motion is to delete select board policies 17-98 and 34-98, which you have copies of in your packet,
So moved.
but already included in other.
Moved by me, second by Andy Goodrich. All in favor? Aye. And now just a motion to direct you to rescind and rewrite the policy book.
We don't need, Karen was gonna go over select board policies and procedures and what we've done on that.
Nice try, though. I will be very pithy, so.
But after that, there's a motion to rescind a bunch of select board policies. That will be incorporated into the board procedural policies.
The new ones.
So,
So are we now going to our Word document?
pardon me?
Now we're going to the Word document.
Yeah, so I sent you an additional backup, which was the original policy, which is this document. And bottom line was, and I'm better show you right, so when we started going through it, like, most of the stuff is good and important, but it's very narrow, it's very hard to be like, okay, what are we supposed to do? So when we started editing it, this started to happen. So that's where we said, you know what, let's just start over and make a new document. 90% of the information that was approved in the earlier this was, is 27, yeah, is incorporated. In addition, as Lorraine mentioned, there's this whole stack are other policies that were written over time that also relate to the board procedures. So these that we're gonna ask you to rescind have been incorporated. What's come out of here is descriptive, like what's in the charter, there's like, this has context. And what we're recommending is just refer to it, we're not gonna have to put all those words in, it's like, it needs to just be there. The only substantive pieces that changed that I wanted comment from the board on, we read these together. I think there were just 2, right? One was under the section, which is number 8 on the rewrite, meeting procedures and meeting structures. Meeting structures has working meetings. Working meetings are really just, in my experience, in my time on the board, it's just been when we do our annual retreat to set priorities. But you could, in theory, say, you know what, we need to sit down and talk about X, just generally speaking, and have a more deeper dive. So we wanted to delineate the types of meetings that we need and what the procedures are. The question for the board to consider is, do we want in our procedure policy to mandate an annual retreat? Or not, or recommend the policy at the discretion of the chair? So 3 choices.
So the sentence we added is the second to last sentence. We wrote, the board will convene annually to discuss priorities of the board with an annual retreat.
So that's a new policy
That's a new line in the
That's a
policy.
new line in the policy that we wanted to bring to you. And we, as I said in my email, I wanna just alert you, you don't have to vote on any of this tonight. That one's a new one. What was the other new one?
The other piece that we sort of struggled with and we put in 2 places was something that you briefly talked about at your last meeting. And that was, let me just find it, I'm sorry.
Are you're on the Word document?
Yeah, we're on the Word doc. And we're trying to find the right place.
Yeah.
And it was under select board, I believe it was under 4 select board standards of conduct,
Oh, yeah, I've heard it.
where item number F, 4F, we just added, instead of that crazy policy that we had about confidentiality and everything, we just said the truth of what it is. Matters discussed in executive session are confidential until the minutes of such meetings are approved to be released by the board.
Remember, there was that whole like, who can say, and we had all those great points about, you know, the
So-
Constitution,
And the fact of the matter is that when you have an executive session, that the matters discussed at that executive session should remain confidential until the minutes of such meetings are approved and released by the board. Once you approve and release the executive session minutes, they become public. But until that time, the information is confidential. So you can't go and talk to Joey on the advisory board or Jamie on the advisory board.
Nobody ever talks to you. But that's
I agree with that. I mean, we.
It just
we actually
simplifies it,
had
and that is what we do.
That would well.
Yeah.
And
I
we're
think
at,
it's stating the obvious, and that's fine.
yeah, I think
Right,
it's.
that incorporates that other
But I think
policy
it
and
protects
amendment.
people from, I can make it.
Okay, and the other thing on the same section we added was under H. Sorry, the other thing was H, which adhere to town's diversity, equity, and inclusion statement in dealing with board members, public and town employees.
Where is that?
Number
That's
H
right
under
underneath
conduct.
H, 4H.
What page you guys on?
It's 192 of our backup.
Oh, so it's actually in A as well. Oh, look, I'm only on page 11.
So that was an addition of something that wasn't in here before, we didn't have it before.
Yes. What was on the other document?
Like we said, we're gonna give you a chance to read this more thoroughly and to vote on it at our next meeting, if that's okay with you.
And the last thing that I will mention is under the original policy, I ironically said that we're supposed to review all our policies and procedures every year, which we've never done. So what we were proposing was a different cadence.
Now we know why.
I know, and said.
Maybe 5 years?
But just, we said, we recommended 3, we went back and forth between 3 and 5, with the intent of, it could be as simple as reaffirming, you know.
We thought that 5 years is so long, you'd forget about it and you wouldn't do it.
Right, that's
When
kind of
board
exactly.
members can change so much in 5 years, as opposed to 3
With
years,
three,
it's
usually
pretty
have some
consistent.
continuity.
And that's what made Karen and I recommend the 3 years. We're basically the terms of the board members. But you're gonna have a lot fewer policies now.
Yeah.
A lot fewer policies. It's not, and it could be so much as, you know, that you reapprove them and you don't even need changes to
Oh,
them.
yeah, it could be, it's in the back, if you go, they look fine, check.
Yeah.
But it's good housekeeping, and that's what we recommend.
Okay, I have a question.
Yes,
On number 10, select board committee oversight.
yes.
Item C, each board liaison shall schedule an annual meeting with the chair, I assume of the committees that the chair is a liaison to. I would just like to suggest that I think that liaison
takes on a different meaning, different tone, depending on the committee. And I don't think it's necessary for us to mandate that you shall meet with the committee chair once a year. I feel as though some committees I am in touch with a lot.
Yeah.
And some I'm not, just because they do their thing and they don't really need me. So instead of, and we already have a lot of meetings to go to. So, and I think it would sort of inhibit us as liaisons, to commit to too many liaison committees.
What if we reworded it to say each board liaison shall make themselves available at the committee chair's request or something?
Yeah.
That's good to
Yeah.
get that.
Yeah. Where is this that we're reading?
Number 10.
Number 10,
Page
hold on, let me-
190.
seven,
Yeah.
8,
Select
C.
board committee oversight.
10. I remember writing it, okay, 10, okay. Select board committee oversight, okay,
So the last one, C.
okay.
Each
So
board
we went
does.
back and forth on this too, right?
Yeah.
So we recommended each board liaison shall make themselves available to meet with the committee chair as needed, or
At the
if
request
needed,
of
or
the chair,
at
I
the
think
request
she
of the
said.
committee chair.
Yeah,
so just so you know, the old policy said annually schedule a meeting with the chairs of major boards and
Yeah, that's when we
committees.
had like 10 committees, we now
Now we
have
have 50 or
35.
something,
We actually have like 4 or something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I like that. Okay, what did you say, at the request of the
Yeah.
Well, make yourself available.
So each board liaison will make themselves available.
at the request of the committee chair. Board or committee chair. Yes.
Yeah, it doesn't put any time.
Right, yeah, that's fine,
At the request of the chair.
yes.
Okay. Bam, that was done.
So we can't rescind all of these until this gets approved, just technicality, but that's what it is. Look at all those we're gonna get rid of. So yeah, we could spend a little time
No.
thinking those are
Take it.
exactly.
I mean, I think we can rescind that.
Chair, I mean, I'm comfortable with
Voting
approving
tonight?
them, and I've read, I mean, are you comfortable with the rest of it? I like amending with that amendment there.
Yeah, I mean, I did read it a couple of times, that's my
I think
max.
we can move forward.
Is there anything else that you want to add or
Highlight or-
review?
No, I just wanna change one formatting under the chairman's.
Well, we can
Everything-
change the format.
Yeah.
The chair.
Yeah, the chair is 1-2, and it should be
Yeah, I mean, if the board is so inclined to vote and approve this evening, I'm okay with that.
So the new name of it is going to be Scituate Select Board Procedural Policy.
He's so gonna.
Procedural policies versus operational
Move
policies.
that the select board, the town of Scituate, approve as amended and edited tonight, the town of Scituate select board procedural policy.
Second.
Moved by Karen Canfield, second by Susan Harrison. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? None. Now can we
And
rescind
then-
all the rest?
Move to rescind, and hopefully I get the right ones, 298. You wanna know?
198 first.
198, yeah, 198, do you want me to say what they are, just read them?
I don't know pages, I keep going back and forth, though. I'm no good on.
All right, 198 is the request for action, that was the one about, when do you ask the town administrator questions, when do you do that? It's incorporated in yours. I think it's the don't be a jerk clause.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so there's 198, which is just the old policy, raw policy. 298, which is up to people without being on the rolls. 598, which is how we do agendas. 898, which is where people want to get on the agenda and it's not one of us. 1598, if you're gonna be late, tell somebody.
Wait, what's 898?
898 is the one that any group of persons requesting agenda time on the select board shall be granted at their earliest time.
Any?
No, the agreement by the lead of the town administrator, the select board administrative assistant. So
That's the one that's being rescinded.
Oh,
That's the one
okay,
that
okay,
you're
thank you,
saying.
I'm trying to
Yeah.
find it
It's
out
been
here.
revised
It's being
on your
rescinded.
meeting.
Basically, I wanna be on the agenda, okay.
No, the procedure for now says under agendas, which is numbers 8A to 10. Agendas are prepared in advance by the board chair and town administrator and the executive assistant. Items, blah, 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 timing. Let's see, oh, sorry, the next one down. Members of the public may request inclusion on the agenda by submitting a topic and background materials in writing. In select board office, decision for inclusion will be at the discretion of the chair or the town administrator. In the event that the topic is not included on an applicant, the chair will provide a written notice to the petitioner why you're not doing that. And tell the board at the next meeting. So that was the revision. 1898 is, if you've got a vacancy on an appointed board committee, what we do. That's just revised and cleaned up in here. 2398 is what we rescinded already, which was that, the chair will automatically become vice chair. The way it's written now is we will vote annually on all officers. And if there's a vacancy, we go through the same process.
Yeah, I don't think there should be any water.
Yeah.
Right.
2598 is the whole one about litigation, which we talked about with the confidentiality. 3098 is, all documents requiring a signature. Sign and, yeah, it's in there. 3098 is, I'm not gonna say, Susan Pippin was busy in 1998.
Yeah.
In 3098
Probably
is,
just come on board and need to shake them up, get everybody.
Clean it up.
Probably.
Oh, that way, that one.
Yeah. It's not guessing.
3098 is 11 o'clock, we're out of here.
Okay.
3698 is, we didn't need it, actually it got removed, it was just basically a representation of what's in the charter. It's not maybe the policy, because it's in the charter. Somebody got mad at it. 4600 was the personal appearance clause of who gets to be in public. So we had a policy that said, all personal appearances, speeches of any kind are routed to the chair and they may assign them to other board members. It says something
Personal appearances on behalf of the town.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Not your other
If you
personal
want me to-
appearance association. That's why I have to ask Laura, can I go?
Yes.
Okay.
No bonus to ever here.
6621 was read twice. If they had it be done. And that's it.
And 46-00.
Oh, which one?
Yeah, we just did that.
We just did that.
She did say that.
That's the personal appearance.
Oh, yeah, I see,
Oh,
I gotcha, yeah.
So move that those are all rescinded.
So moved. Any further discussion? Okay. Moved
Goodbye.
by Karen Conley, second by Susan Harrison. All in favor? Aye.
Okay, so the next meeting, I did speak to Jim about that notice to chairman for unusual events. We agreed on something that we'll revise for the next meeting to keep it a separate policy. The other
Sorry,
quick,
what's an unusual event?
unusual event would be like a fire. in town.
An emergency, yeah,
Right.
okay, good.
Right.
Thank you.
So-
Bye.
I reviewed it with Jim, we agreed to some language, so we'll revise that and make it presented with that revised policy. So other things here that Karen and I talked about, many of them are policies for other departments.
Oh, yeah.
That we're gonna make a proposal at our next meeting for some of them. For example, and I briefly discussed this with Jim as well. I'm not gonna take up too much time, but I wanna get your temperature on it. So things like water bill abatements, sewer connection fees, sewer and water policies, the new irrigation policies, street light, water use restriction, water main policies. Those are all should be DPW policies, not select board policies.
But we're the water commissioners, do you pull the water out of that?
You're the water commissioners, but you do the policies and approve the policies for waterways, for every board and committee, recreation. You approve the things that are presented to you. When Nancy gives you the ambulance billing policy, you should approve that as one of Nancy's financial policies. Or other financial policies that she comes up with. You shouldn't be tracking every department's policies.
But we do review other departments' policies.
Correct.
Yeah.
And you vote on them.
Right.
And they
Before
implement
they
them.
change.
Yeah.
And they implement them. For example, all the sewer policies that you approve are put in the sewer rules and regulations.
Right.
All of the waterways policies that you approve are put in the
So you're
waterways.
just recommending that you pull them out and then just
They live somewhere
organize,
else.
they live within that department.
Yeah,
That makes
correct.
sense. Yes, because it's not really an operational policy for us.
Correct. The licensing policies are.
Yeah.
You know, your own select board procedures that you just approved are. Anything within that office is, but everything in the external offices, they should have their own policy and how they run their department. Because they need to know what the irrigation policy is. And
Well, and
they
you
need
had a
to
really,
know.
you had a really good point, if somebody, let's say gets a water bill, they have a question about. We set the rates, but they're not calling us, they're calling the water.
Right, yeah.
So they're the enforcers of those things for them, if there's a problem, it gets picked up.
And
I mean, so it's up to the department head to make sure they have the policies within their own department.
So functionally, the process would stay the same, we're just
Yes.
talking about
where
The documentation.
where the actual document
Yeah.
resides.
it's
all
not in the
of it.
select board
elsewhere.
policy,
It's in
it's a policy of the town that we
Right.
approve.
So ponder that, no decision tonight. We're gonna make a recommendation, and then you can vote on it at your next meeting. And then if you wanna clean up things, and we're done, really.
You guys, yeoman's work.
Truly. But there'll be other new policies that will come down the course.
Oh, yeah.
I think Nancy's had our financial policies on agendas for 2 or 3 years.
I know, Nancy, and we never have gotten.
I gave up after the ninth
Right.
meeting.
After the night meeting.
We'll give those to the next newly elected board member to take on.
You're in charge of financial policies.
We already ordered this nameplate and have it already in the office.
Really?
Oh my God.
Thank you guys for.
All right, you guys done?
Yeah.
The
Oh, okay.
enthusiasm in which you approach this.
No, we, honest to God, we appreciate all the work that
Oh,
you
yeah.
did, because as I have said multiple times, I always welcome policy wonks, because it's just not. So I really, really
Well,
do.
this was your
I-
initiative.
I appreciate that, you both took the time to actually rewrite, edit, it's a lot of work.
It is.
So,
I can't help myself.
I know,
Jeez.
so thank you.
Thank God we had Ivrea, lawyers, and Karen Canfield. That's all.
I don't know where you get the time, it must be like a, just a
It's
really
an honor
fast
to be
breather. I would still be on like that policy one. So thank you. Okay, all right. Next agenda item, new business, to discuss and vote board and committee appointments. So this list of appointments is our annual appointments. Jim, why are you on the Metropolitan Area Planning Council? Don't we usually have a board member on that?
I don't know.
It's always been.
It's always Jim?
No, it's usually, it was Brad Washburn when he was here.
Oh, right.
It was
Oh,
Kyle
yeah.
when he was here, because he goes to meetings during the day and you guys are working. Yeah.
None
And
of you
Jim,
wanted to do it.
Nobody else wanted to do it?
and nobody wanted to do it, we
Well,
made Jim do it.
I go to all of them, but I wear a different hat for that.
But
Okay,
most
just
here
curious,
during the
so-
day, and it should be, it's been traditionally an employee.
Pardon?
Is it on site? Or is it?
No, usually.
They're mostly virtual meetings now.
That's good.
There's the animals never be.
Why are you raising your hand?
Well, if it was virtual, I would do it, but I can't go outside.
Yes. Andrew?
Middle of the day, I would be.
Go ahead, and
Oh, yeah.
it's a fence view.
Somebody that makes fences.
That, I actually
That's
have my
what I did
eye on
about-
that.
No, that's an old,
Yeah, until someone gets into a dispute over a fence, which
Oh, I know.
occasionally happens.
I know.
Remember that?
I don't know, but it's.
I just have never.
We're gonna put you and not figure it out.
Somebody that tells you how high you can put your
And we
fence.
double check with Paul Murphy that he still wants to do that?
I just tell him. If he doesn't want,
Okay, I'm just asking, cause,
he likes doing it,
does he? Okay.
right, Paul?
Okay, he's a
He'll be
good guy.
listening.
All right,
You'd
so,
be surprised what the calls he gets.
really?
Yes.
Oh,
That was my.
Do you want me?
The fence
No, Paul wants to
I
do it.
don't want
Oh my
to
God,
have
just kidding.
fences.
All right, somebody wanna make a motion for these individual appointments?
Move to appoint the following individuals for one term or until a successor is named. Archivist, the great Jody McDonough. Assistant accountant, Mary Santinino, thank you. Citizen Rep for Scholarship Committee, Judith Brent Ariel. Custodian of Tax Title Property and Albert Youth. Fair Housing Officer, James Boudreau. Fence viewer, Paul Murphy. Field driver, Neil Duggan. Licensing agent, Lieutenant Paul Norton. Local auction permit agent, Van Apatow. MBTA, Karen Canfield. Mass Communication Advisory Committee, James Boudreau. South Shore Recycling Cooperative, Sean McCarthy. State Ethics Commission, James Boudreau. Tree Warden, Michael Brady. And also move to appoint individual for 3 years until a successor is named for the Area Planning Council, James Boudreau.
You have two others on the back page.
Yeah, she got it. She just got
She
it.
just did it.
And then we already appointed the.
We already
bylaw
did
review
Chris.
committee.
Motion by Karen Canfield, second by Andrew Goodrich, all in favor?
Aye.
All right, we will move on to liaison reports. Susan, anything?
Well, they were here, so.
Yep, you're good, okay. Mordecai Lincoln. All right. Andrew?
No, I've got meetings this week, so I'll let you know
Yeah.
next meeting.
I didn't think of those all.
Next meeting, I will get more detailed
Gotcha.
Yeah, I
liaison.
don't have any. No, you, well, you always have to.
Just so the board's aware, the slow roll from the bike commission was postponed because of rain. There were 70 registrants that were.
How many?
70, sorry.
70?
78.
Oh,
78 registrations.
Oh,
So that was sad that they're gonna do it and it was postponed. And they got the tip grant for bike racks.
right,
So that was good.
oh, good.
The library, the oar is going to be installed next week. There'll be some ceremony down the road. Bylaw still need 1 or 2 members, this is.
In
great.
addition to Chris?
Yeah, he really wants 5 total, and there's 4 now, so maybe.
I thought Patty Lambert was the 5th.
Yeah, she's already on.
She's a liaison, I think.
She's
I think she was appointed as an actual member. I'll have to look into that, I don't
Okay.
know.
Okay. And I just wanted to note 2 things. One, the chamber is going to be calling you, I think, Jim, about this. They want to do a thank you to the Coast Guard. As just a thing they want to do, so that might be kind of. Pardon me?
Try to keep them in.
Well, they wanted to do it when Jim saved us. And it's just one of those things for, so that'd be a cool thing. And I recommend that they do it their, launch in the spring, in the early summer. And I did get a call from Ruth Thompson, and she is writing a remembrance tomorrow.
Oh,
I
nice.
wanted you guys to know, so she hasn't called you, she might be calling you.
Oh, that's nice.
I'm sorry, writing a remembrance tomorrow, is
Mark
it?
Lansing.
Okay.
Yeah, Ruth got transferred to obituaries.
Yes,
When
she,
the
her
whole
noted remembrances.
Yes,
they call
yes,
it.
well, I still use the old word.
I know.
All right, correspondence?
I have a quick question, did the bike get rescheduled or just?
It has not, it will be, but it
Okay.
has not.
I thought so. Yeah, we had a couple correspondence. The first one was from First Paris Village, which is, notice that they submitted a project of eligibility site approval application with, Mass Housing Finance Agency, so this will be a, 40B project, at 24 condo units with 6 affordable, and it's located at 210, 214, and 218 First Parish Road. Is the address.
thank you for it.
Which is kind of near Sean Harris's.
No, it's
It's right
across-
next door to Kathy Gardner.
Yeah,
It's, I was gonna
So
say,
you don't
it's
even
on
have to
Kathy's
come,
side of the road.
you go past the common, and then you have, it's like that little section that's, if you go south on First Parish,
Okay.
from
Where
the
the
common towards the harbor.
Where the harbor.
And there's a piece of land back
Oh,
in there.
okay.
In the select board office are all the plans and the information in that blue folder.
I don't know how you get to 10% when you have 24 units and only what's somewhat affordable with, you know.
You can't, you have to do rental.
You have to do rent.
So
If it was 100% rental, that's 100%.
even though only 25% are affordable, all 100 count as affordable.
Cause he's renting them.
Because if it's rental,
Right.
all the units count. If it's ownership, only those affordable units count. So you're right, if you do ownership, you can never catch up. because
Never.
You're adding units as you're adding affordable.
Right.
First, we don't turn down there.
Let's talk about some good news.
Yeah, good news, I guess. In the Boston Magazine, there was an article about, so you want to live in Scituate, noting the beaches and small town feel and relatively affordable. Because I think their numbers are a little old. So we got a spotlight in that, and that was
That's great.
good. Yeah. And then, grant report card for January, for the, 2024. So there was a total of 421,583, notable grants that were received in April 2024 is a FEMA grant for, 71,250, and that's, flood damage reduction, that's the Cole Parkway.
Oh, great.
And then ARPA money, and that's flagged for the new water sewer treatment plant, and that is under that.
Excellent. Thank you. Did Corey write those as well?
It's 71,250 brick branch, you did, the other one was a budget earmark.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you, Corey. Great.
That's all I have, yes.
Okay. Do we have a motion to approve the minutes for our select board meeting that was held on April 8th and April 9th? And also to move and accept and not release the executive session minutes for the select board meeting held on April 16th, since that the matters that were discussed are still pending at this time. Anybody second? Second by Andrew Goodrich, all in favor?
Aye.
Town meeting minutes. Motion to approve the town meeting minutes from April 8th, 2024. Second by Karen Canfield, all in favor? I think that's it, right?
Yes.
Do I have a motion to adjourn and sign documents? Moved by Karen Connolly, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.